Okay. So let me test this stuff really quick. Um, Settings. Hello. Yeah. Um, okay, I think we're good. So it is 5:02 and we will start with our work session. Start rolling on. Yeah, I can just jump in with events and rolling calendar, like try to do at the beginning of every meeting to give you guys a heads up on what's coming up for the next couple months. A couple of the notes I have is the that aren't really on this calendar, but are things that are happening for the fair world. The second or the third and fourth of February is the first fair college. The Fairs Association is doing like a 8 session fair college that's supposed to be for newer fair managers and fair staff to kind of get everybody trained on industry standard stuff. So I'll go to that on the third and fourth, which is the fourth is our meeting next month. And so I'll be coming in hot after lunch to be here for the meeting for you guys. I'm looking forward to that program. The end of next month is the Oregon Festivals and Events Association convention that's in Seaside every year. That'll be the 27th through the 1st. If any of you are interested in going to that, you could probably sign up and go, or at the very least, you could stop in there and check out their trade show. They'll have vendors and booths set up there that we can easily get you in to check out the trade show, even if you don't have the time to go to the full event. And I can share that information for you. Oh, John made it. And then the Fairs Association convention, the dates are set for October. I think it's working.
That's what's wrong.
Yeah, I don't think it's on. Was this working?
I don't know which one's which, so I can experiment and find out, or you can just move it closer.
I don't think it's even.
Is it on there?
It's dead. There we go. And then,
Yeah.
it's the. I had the dates written down. October 15th, 16th, and 17th, I believe. It's that Thursday, Friday, Saturday of that week in October. And I can send you guys all that date as well. If any of y'all are interested, it's at the Washington County Fairgrounds this year. So it's relatively close and it's really great for you guys to go and meet other board members and get a bigger exposure to the fair as an industry. And there's a lot of resources there for training and whatnot. Um, events that are coming up. January is typically pretty slow. There's some banquets. We'll have the resource dinner. We'll have the chambers dinner that will also be here. Can you hear me now?
Now it works. Sorry. Now it works.
Okay. And now this one's still working. Say February, there'll be Super Saturday, the beginning of February, first weekend of February. We'll do the weigh-in the following week. We booked a monster truck show for that President's Day weekend. And then the Friends of the Fair shows will start up. March will get a little bit busier. There's not very many openings starting in March, basically through the fair. A lot of annual events. Ducks Unlimited's an annual event. Classic Car Club swap meet. The circus will come the end of March. Yeah. Do you have any questions on any of those?
It's like a different time frame to ask, but that other circus that we were talking about, we get an update on that and figure out.
I haven't heard back from them again. I had some conversations with some other fair managers about them. They were like, if they're willing to rent the place, rent it to them, but know that they're not a circus. And we would definitely want it to be clear to the other circus operator that because it could affect them. Our rolling calendar, we've got a very busy meeting today, and I'm sure the February 4th meeting will also turn into a busy one. One of the things that we'll have to really note is that in February, we'll be working on the budget. So it's very likely that at some point in late February, we'll need to call a special meeting for you all to be able to get your eyes on the budget because we won't start working on it till after our next meeting and it will be due before the following meeting. So it's in a short window there where you'll have to hold a special meeting to be involved in it. Ideally, we have something from the roof contract, the roof assessment for the next meeting in February that we can actually vote on which repair we're going to be doing and we can get that bid out. We have until February of 2026 to get that done. Otherwise, we'll lose our grant money. And we'll need to get that tax measure on the county's agenda in late February in order to get that piece rolling and getting it all out there. So that's the stuff coming up for the next 2 months. If there's anything else you all would like to see on this, let me know and we'll put it on the calendar. I do have my note here, October 16th through 18th for the Fairs Convention. Yep. Yeah. We've got Anthony here. I have some slides for him. You can sit or stand either way, whichever you'd like.
The slides up there, but I'm Anthony Book, County Council. This is gonna be really quick ethics training. We're gonna go really high level on things. Mostly I just want you to be aware of some certain issues that you see that they rise that you can reach out to me and talk to me more about. But by all means, we're going through this presentation. If you have any questions, let me know. Anything before we get started? All right. Go to the next slide. This is a slide that I actually borrowed from the county manager. And what I like is it really lays out kind of the ethics being more than just what we're going to talk about today. Usually when we think of ethics, we think about right or wrong. But what we're going to talk about today is what's really legal, what's illegal. But I'd like to also point out that each of us have our own personal ethics that we bring to the table. You as your board will eventually have your own ethics as a board. And it's important that, everything we're doing, we want to make sure we're doing it just not legally, but also ethically. And it's can be tricky because some things that might be legally ethical are not ethical. And so I just want you always to be aware of what you're doing, make sure that we're on the right path, not causing problems. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. I should have titled this slide what ethics we're going to cover tonight because this isn't really all of them. But if you go to the first one, we're going to talk about this one in more detail. But this is a big one for the board that you should be aware of when you're having your meetings. It's prohibited use of office and conflicts of interest. But like I said, we'll come back to that in just a few minutes. And go to the next one. We're not going to come back to this one, but it's very important. Under ethics law, you can accept gifts, but they can't be more than $50 from one individual per year. But my personal recommendation is gifts are a bit of a minefield. It can be complicated. So I'd ask that if anybody does offer you a gift, even if it is under $50, to reach out and we can talk about it. One of the best benefits for your board is that if you talk to me about it, there's a kind of safe harbor provision. If I say it's okay and you accept it, for some reason it's not, that becomes my problem, not your problem. You won't be held responsible. So like I said, if somebody does offer you anything, let me know. Sometimes it seems, kind of innocent, but it can cause bigger problems. For instance, after an election, our clerk's office received a bunch of bouquet of flowers from one of the political parties. And they just wanted to say, hey, thank you. You guys worked hard. But other people in the community kind of took it as maybe they did a favor for them. So now they're getting their payment. So like I said, it could be something simple, but it could cause big problems. Any questions about gifts or before we move on? All right. The next one's probably something you won't have to worry about, but we are a small community. Nepotism is that, if you have a family member that works here at the fair, especially somebody that who, if it's like in Kyle's position that, the board influences, that's of course unethical. Or even if it's one of the other staff members. So if you ever do have a family member that gets hired at the county, come to talk to me, we can figure out.
At the county or?
Oh, just at the fair. Sorry.
Okay, I was like-
the county. No, it is
Yeah.
some of your guys. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Anything more clear. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's not necessarily not allowed, but you have to take special precautions.
I did.
Oh, you did it. Political activities is something that we're going to talk about. I know you guys are going to be talking about the levy a little bit later today. As board members, you're going to have some restrictions on what you can and can't do. So we'll go into more detail. And then the last thing we're talking about, this isn't so much under the ethics law, but I think it all kind of comes under the same umbrella. We're going to talk about public meetings and also public records law. And I don't know your guys' background if you've served on other boards or worked in government, but there's things that in the public realm that we have to be careful that you don't worry about when you're on. All right. So the first kind of topic we're going to go a little more in depth to is financial gain or avoidance. And I should have updated this. Public official is the word that's used in the ORSs, and all of you on this board are considered public officials, so this will apply to you. But public officials are prohibited from using or attempting to use their official position or office to, go to the first one there, obtain financial gain or avoid financial permanent. Next one.
Nope. Fat fingered it.
Doesn't matter how minimal. And, I did this similar training to the employees of the county. It's, something that they have to watch out and be a little more careful for. But as the board, we're going to talk a little bit more how that would, affect you. But the thing is sometimes people, kind of get the feeling that if it's a small thing, it doesn't really matter. But when if a complaint comes of it, it'll still be investigated just like you stole $1 million, and there still could be civil penalties. So don't think of that as a good excuse. And then I think it's important that not just you, but a household member or a relative. And I'm not gonna go through the whole definition, that's in the ORSs, but anybody who lives in your house, your spouse, your siblings, your parents, your in-laws, your children, grandchildren. But like I said, as a board, this isn't as big of an issue if you're not working full-time. But when you ever face something that you think may be a financial gain or avoidance, there's a rule that we kind of give out. We can take the next one. And it's if a gain or avoidance of procurement would not otherwise be available, but for the public official suing of his or her office or position. So, so I'm not the only one talking. Do any of you have any scenarios where they could think that this might be a problem for you while you're serving on this board? We're having a discussion about it, so we can talk some more. One, and probably won't be such a big thing, but I can see it happening around fair. Of course, the fairgrounds owns a bunch of equipment. I think we have a skid steer. We can use that as a. So let's say it was Friday, everyone's going home, and you had a project at home that you wanted to use that skid steer for. And unfortunately, this does happen quite often. You can't just take it home, do your project, and bring it back. That would be avoiding the financial determinant of having to rent one yourself. And like I said, in your role, you don't have so much access to those type of things, but if you're like in Kyle's role, there's a lot of things that you probably sneak on the weekend.
Yeah.
Of course, you don't want to do that. So I did come up with an example to kind of to help if you go to the next slide. One thing is, sometimes you'll talk about contracts here, or when you're working on the roof or something. If you own a business or your relatives own a business, you have to be very careful if they're active in the community that you don't unfairly recommend them. So if you do, like, I think it's a heating and the HVAC, if there's an HVAC project here, you would want to declare, hey, I work for an HVAC company, I own an HVAC company. And if you're gonna, bid or work on it, you have to declare a conflict of interest and remove yourself from the discussion. But even if it was your dad that owned the business or a son, you still would want to bring that up. The same thing with vendors, anything that there's a competitive process for. And that's where I say we're moving really fast. Anybody have any questions or concerns about that? Perfect. So there's an example I have on here that, like I said, sometimes it's not obvious. It's, you're hiring yourself to do something that's pretty clear. But in this example, imagine you own a small business that sells popcorn at fair and events. There's a proposal to move the Clatsop County Fair to a date that you've already committed to have another fair. And so you kind of lobby in the meeting to have the fair date moved to the date where you can make sure that your business is there to sell things. And so that obviously you're earning a financial gain. Even though it might not be directly by awarding a contract, that you're basically using the position on the board to help yourself.
Can you clarify on that one?
Sure.
So you talk about the influence of moving the fair date. But what about the influence of actually selling popcorn at the fair if you own the board? Not that I would think.
Right, yeah. So if you're in a business, and like I said, you have to go through the process of declaring the conflict of interest, saying publicly in the meeting, saying, hey, I own this business, and then you would recuse yourself from any discussions or a vote. And like I said, it gets way more complicated than this because there's actual conflicts of interest and potential conflicts of interest. So if you do think you have any sort of conflict of interest, you can reach out to me and talk about it. So that's, yeah. So no matter anything that you can think of that you might be gaining financially or whatever, you can always declare. And then there is ways, like I said, if you work with me, we can find ways to make it legal. Just want to make sure we do those things. All right. Going quick, I don't know if I'll take my whole 20 minutes. No problem.
Time for Q&A.
And like I said, I know, Mary, I think you did the statewide training that's
Yeah.
from the Ethics Commission. All of you are required to do that at some point, and it's more in depth. It's always 2.5 hours. Be a little boring, but it really dives into these topics. So I would recommend that. I know you have your whole term to do it, but to do it sooner than later, it's going to be more beneficial. Really quickly, I just wanted to talk about public meetings law. Like I said, this isn't exactly an ethics issue as far as the ORS is, but it's something that's very important. Fair board, you are subject to the public meeting laws that are found in ORS 192.610. Really, I think the thing that you have to keep in mind that you cannot meet as a body without following the proper steps of having the meeting noticed, having the public available to watch or be a part of it. And fortunately, you have Kyle here who should, in his office, takes care of these things for you, the noticing requirements. You just go to the next one. It's kind of what we're talking about. Where this could be a problem though is like kind of informal things, even if you don't plan to meet as a board, but you all find yourself at an event together or at somebody's house and you start talking about their issues. Technically, that would be a violation of public meeting law. And that's just looking to a different order, but we'll talk in a minute too about social media. You go to the next one. So serial communication, and usually we see this in a board and they go to Kyle. So let's say you went to Kyle and said, hey, we have these thoughts about the fair. Kyle goes to some of the other board members and has that same conversation and brings that information back to the other board members. Even though you're not meeting together, you're kind of using a conduit to have those discussions. So that would be a public meetings violation. So that's one that could easily pop up, or even if three of you, I guess I didn't clarify that. The quorum of your board is 4 people. So 4 of you can't meet together and talk about fair stuff. 2 of you can meet together, even 3 of you can meet together. That's fine, but you can't have the majority. But what you have to be careful of it, 3 of you have a conversation and then you go talk to other board members later about that conversation, and that's technically the violation. So I have to put that in there. And the same thing goes, go ahead, Kyle, then the next one. This is something we see quite often now, social media, Facebook. There could be Facebook groups, or we're all part of like scanner groups here in the community. And maybe something comes up with the fair, and a fair board member chimes in, and then another board member chimes in, and pretty soon there's 4 of you talking in there. And it doesn't seem like a public meeting, but it's over there. So you need to be very careful. Things of setting up Facebook groups that have just more than 4 of you in it. Same thing with emails. You can't email each other, have discussions. You can't text, have a text group and all talk together.
Actually, I have a question.
Yeah,
Are we allowed to all have a group email, even if it's not discussing new topics?
no, nothing with the fair. So unless it's, I'd have it come from Kyle, anything that needs to go to all of you. And then you respond to Kyle, not to each other. And, Courtney can back me up on this with the board of commissioners. Sometimes I'll send out an email to all of them, but I ask them to respond individually on it. And then I don't share that response with anybody. That keeps it safe.
Got it.
And even if it is an old topic, or literally if it's anything to do with the fair, it's going to be on limits for those type of issues.
Just the fair, not but the entirety of the fairgrounds, not just the
Yeah.
fair next time.
Everything that you guys have authority on.
Okay, got
So yeah, even if you're going to talk about, hey, we want to build a new building over here.
it. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions there?
I think that also we may need to think about too, if that's the case, about our committees and how we are breaking up into committees. And if we have multiple people on different committees and then any of that overlaps, we'll have to be careful about.
Like, we're here to talk about this particular item and we're not
Yeah. we can't
talking about.
stray from that.
And you just, because it might come up, if you guys were at a barbecue and you're talking about football or something, of course, that's fine. But as soon as the conversation, and it probably at some point would come to the fair, then. All right, so any other questions about public meetings? Perfect. We'll move on, and this kind of goes on with that last topic of social media. Have your own page, you can just talk about the fair, but it's really important that you make sure that it's very clear that you're an individual talking and not talking on behalf of the fair board or the county. So you can say, hey, I have this great idea about the fair, we should do this, which is fine, as long as it's coming from you. They can say, hey, the fair board wants to do X, then that becomes a problem. And then also, like, I brought that up to make sure it's not a form of the first thought, anything on the subject, when somebody today on this section. Questions with that? All right, we move on. We're almost done here. I just wanted to bring this up really quickly. And if you haven't worked for the government before, you might not be aware of this, but when you're acting on behalf of the county in the fair board, any of your communications are subject to public record requests. And you can hit the next one. No, probably a little small up there. You hit one more. But it's basically any of these things that you might, it's not just writing, it's not just emails, it's messages, text messages. Advice is especially when writing email, but communicating, make sure you don't put anything on there that you wouldn't want broadcast to the world. But it's also, start using too much of your personal things. Like I said, even if it's a personal email that you're talking about there, somebody could request that and you have to go through your personal email. I think now they have a county email.
You do have a county email,
Okay.
yeah.
It'd be my recommendation that as much as possible use the county email for fair basis. I know like an account with some type of email account, but that just keeps everything separated. Because if you know that's what the like serious litigation, which hopefully we never go to, the attorneys could request your personal computer basically to get any information off of it, or because it'll be the personal email account, but it all discoverable. But if you can keep it limited to the county email that you want.
What if you're just talking to the general public? But it's about very.
That's right. Yeah, even if you're talking to the citizen, even if those are anything you do, it's going to be available. And it takes a while to get used to that, but it's and the same thing like text messages and emails can be requested if it's not prepared.
That's another good note is to be thinking about your emails like a billboard. Like don't write anything in an email that you wouldn't want posted on the side of the highway somewhere because it's a public record and anybody could technically ask for it.
Not with you guys, but it's happened with me.
It's not
Oh crap, what did I say?
requesting something. Wait a second.
There's always that moment of panic, and then you're like, okay, it's gonna be fine, I hope.
I hope that too. All right, I know, like I said, moving really fast here, but any questions about public records or usually with that process, they would file an official request with the county to come to me. I look to see if it is something that we would have to disclose. And then I work with whoever to respond. There are exceptions, and like I said, it's actually quite complicated, but really high level. This is right. Not any other questions? We can move on to the last section here. The tax levies coming up pretty soon, and there could be other political issues. Anytime you make a statement, you just have to make sure that you're speaking as an individual. We're not going to limit your First Amendment rights. But if you start using, you know, like the county thinks this or the fair board thinks this, you're going to start getting. Just want to be very clear about that. I think it's pretty straightforward. Any questions there? That's all I have. Any other general questions or anything about anything that I can help you guys with? All right. So Kyle, does it need for me to stick around?
I don't think so.
All right, thank you. Like I said, you guys ever have questions or problems or anything, yeah, feel free to reach out, or if you're not comfortable for some reason, reach out to Kyle and he can help.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, the role of the chair and vice chair.
Yeah, I wanted to take some notes ahead of you guys deliberating later on, you know, selecting who your chair and vice chair was going to be, and just kind of put some general notes out there about what does the chair and vice chair do. So as you're thinking about it here over the next half hour on who's going to fill those positions, I think Matt's already said he's not going to be taking the position, so we don't have a vice chair right now either. So between the six of you all, we can figure out who's going to be the chair and vice chair. There are notes in your handbook from that what do they call it? The county's basically book on committees, and you know, the chair basically, you know, runs the meetings. They're the face of the board. If there's anything that needs signed or acknowledged, it should be the chair that's making those announcements. Ideally, I'm working with the chair member to you know, set the agenda, and the chair is kind of communicating with you all and with me about things that you'd like to see on the agenda throughout the time and checking in with each other. and basically facilitates, the direction of what the board's going to be going. And then the vice chairs kind of got to be up to speed with everything the chair's doing in case they're not able to make it to the meeting. And I'll work to try to keep everybody up to speed. So if any of you had questions on what all comes with being the chair or the vice chair, and just before you consider nominating yourself or somebody else, you take a little time amongst yourselves to talk about it or ask me questions.
A little bit more information on page 8, if you guys have your book in section 4 for the advisory committee handbook. But if there isn't any other discussion on that, then we could probably move on now.
And it's just for like a next steps. So we'll do roll call of the meeting, and then the very first thing, action of business, will be to nominate and vote on who the chair and vice chair are going to be. And there's no secret ballots, so it's all a public vote. And we can do a voice vote, I suppose. Yeah. Ready to move on? Okay, Gail showed up for us tonight to talk also about this, but as we've had discussions about strategic planning, some conversation from Gail that they may have some capacity in their department to help us through this process. And so we met once and she drafted up a proposal. I don't know if you want me to speak for anything else or if you want to take it from here. Basically, we're going to have to pay somebody to do this anyways. And so if we can have some in-house help, especially since a lot of what we need to do as far as the capital side, I think revolves around a lot of land use and building code type of stuff. It doesn't appear like the existing plan really had much input from land use or building involved in it. It could be beneficial, but we wanted to pitch you guys all on the process and see if there was any interest in going that route, or and then we could talk more about what that would look like. The strategic plan needs to have, this capital facilities type, what do we want to do as far as buildings and upgrades and but also the part on, how do we want our operations to look, and kind of, a 10-year plan for the business side along with the capital side, and kind of looking at this whole operation of the big picture. Yeah, you guys have had an opportunity to look through this, or if you want to give them a summary on what you're thinking.
Again, just for the record, for anybody who might not know me, I'm Gail Henriksen. I'm the Community Development Director. And we as staff have been talking to Kyle on this major fair board discussions and looking at some of the other strategic plans that other counties are doing. Deschutes County right now is not what we are, and not necessarily, I don't think, what we want to be, but they're in the process of updating their plan as well. But some other counties have also updated. So we've been going through their plans to get an idea of, what are other fairgrounds looking at, what are the fair boards looking at, what's in your strategic plan. We know your conditional use needs to get updated this year. It's woefully out of date. It's over 30 years old now at this point. So we put together it's a draft proposal, kind of talking about different steps that we would take in the process. I think the first thing that we would probably recommend is starting out with a discussion between your board and the Board of Commissioners, just so you're all working together and understanding what the parameters are and what everybody is looking for out of the strategic plan. And that would actually help staff as well to understand, what we're working with. And then moving on from there, there's just typical things that you do when you put together a report like this. You're looking at all the background documents, seeing what's out of date, what work has been done, what's been accomplished, what's still on the table, what may have changed over the years, and now priorities are different. And so kind of pulling all that background information together. And then tying into that would be the update of the conditional use permit. And then as part of all of this, doing stakeholder interviews, because I know that obviously that correlates with a very big stakeholder, I think, in the fairgrounds. And there are probably lots of other groups that I'm not familiar with, not that intimate with how the fair board works at this point. But talking to people who have an interest in seeing the fair succeed, what are the issues they're encountering? What do they see as the strengths?
what would they like to see in the future? And then using that public input and giving it back to your board, and then really helping or to help you, you know, pick a direction for the fair for the next 10 years. And then obviously we put together an updated final document. And Kyle had also suggested that we do some economic analysis and look at the operational side of things as well. I will be forthcoming with that this is not something we have done before in terms of looking at fair operations, so it would be something new for staff. I think that we are able to do it, but I just want to let you know up front that obviously we're not professional fair planners, but I think that there are strengths and ways that we can help the board get an updated plan and updated use permit. And so we would probably be looking at starting this at the beginning of the fiscal year. We can start some of the background stuff now, but really going full force starting July 1st. And that's simply because we are wrapping up about 3 or 4 big projects ourselves right now, which will be done by June 30th. And then that is what's freeing up our time to take on new projects. And so really I'm here to see if you have any interest, answer questions, if you're looking for changes to the draft scope of work, just to hear what you have to say.
I have a question on, so it's helpful that you went through the scope of work. Can I better understand, and I'll pick one, the stakeholder interviews. Where is the fair board influence on those interview questions or standard questions or those types of things? I understand.
No, so what we would want the fair board to do is, first of all, you need to tell us who the stakeholders are, because you know who your stakeholders are. And then connect us with people that would be good to interview, and then also reviewing the question. I mean, obviously, we as staff don't know what is important to you to find out in the fair, so we would want to know what you want to hear from your constituents.
You know, potentially there could be like either a pre or a post like stakeholders meeting, like where either before going out and contacting or having these individual meetings, there's some kind of group discussion with the fair board, or maybe even it's an after, like a follow-up, like, hey, we had all these meetings. Let's come back to the table and talk about that as a group.
So I was just gonna interject, being on the board side of doing a strategic plan with our staff. I've done it for 4 years, and it's a very individualized process. So staff traditionally will take each individual board member's thoughts into account, and then they are basically combined. And what happens is what comes out of it is a board direction. And so then staff will take that board direction and start, you know, creating a long-term plan. And it's been extremely successful at the county commissioners level of being able to set long-term and short-term goals in regards to economics and capital improvements. And then it's actually a very tangible way to graph our progress. And so from my first year experiencing it till now, there is a very visible, very tangible, measurable progress that has occurred. And so I'm just speaking of the experience that I've had with the county staff. They've done a wonderful job in our strategic planning process. And so I would say it would be a similar experience for you guys.
And very likely a big cost savings versus hiring an outside consultant. And we have like a really good foundation to start with. I think with our plan that we have, I mean, there was not much done with it. It seems like after it was completed, like maybe that first year they did a little bit of work with it, but then I'm not sure if much has happened with it since then.
I get the clarity. I don't see anything here from a cost perspective.
Yeah, we didn't get into that deep of a conversation. It was more just like a kickoff concept type of discussion. Like, is this even the path that we want to go down? And
I think just cost savings in general, it's a no-brainer. I do kind of wonder, I know we've had a meeting where we had a lot of the stakeholders in one building and we had a meeting type of situation. would it be beneficial to do something like that to start with? And then kind of individualize, because maybe, those individualized meetings wouldn't have, my mom had to bring me the water.
Yeah.
Maybe those individualized meetings, wouldn't necessarily have something that they would have heard at a bigger meeting first. So instead of, like you said, having it after or whatever, maybe having it before and really getting everyone's ideas rolling, and then having those individualized meetings would be.
I think if this is a concept that we want to chug down, that maybe we set a time for a meeting where we have a good 45 minutes or so that we're just talking about this one particular item. Now that it's in your head and you can think about it, we can decide, is this the route we want to go? But the big thing for me is, like, well, first off, like, this is a requirement in your guys' MOU with the county that we do a strategic plan. Not necessarily that the county helps us with it, but that we're making this process happen. But helping get a project done or a report done that's actually going to be something that's useful and not something that just goes on the shelf and then 15 years later we say, oh, we got to update this again. And not just doing it to do it so that it's something that we can actually use.
Yeah, I would say that we should look at this and have another meeting where we can discuss it further. I think that this is great, having the draft proposal, and gives us an opportunity to kind of dive deeper and make that happen.
Yeah. And I think maybe some of the other conversations, there's stuff that we can get rolling in the meantime. Like, we are starting down the wetland piece now, and that'll come up later in the meeting. That information will all be very helpful as we're going through this process. But maybe if we can get some of the work started with our CUP in the meantime also. I don't know if we need to have a strategic plan done in order to do the update, but
Well, your board will need to update your conditional use permit. You will have to have a discussion in a meeting about what items in that conditional use you want to change. So, and I'm happy to come back and be part of that discussion, whichever way you want to go. We're here to support you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kyle?
Yeah.
Would we be able to get some samples of other counties? So we get some ideas.
Yeah.
That way we can talk more intelligently about what we'd like to look at.
Yeah, I have probably 3 or 4 of them, but we can also dig around for some others. I can put out a request to all the fair managers. We have like a email chain, and I'd probably get 5 or 6 of them back within 15 minutes if I put out a request to them.
We have a few
Yeah, we had the Lane County. Sounds like you've had some conversations about Deschutes, and I said when I was there for the convention in October, we had one of our meetings in his boardroom, and he had all of his exhibits and poster boards up, made up. Clearly, it had a work session just recently discussing it. So they will probably have a ton of great information on the fair industry in the Pacific Northwest alone. If we can just collect some of that really fresh, be a great start.
So yeah, we'll work on maybe getting a date set for that and go back to it.
Okay. Thank you, Gail.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Move on to the meditation.
Yeah, so I had been hoping to have had more information together, and I left my binder in the office, so I don't even have my notes on it, but I'm working on the application. I don't have a draft filled out yet. My intention for steps would be that at the next meeting we have in February, we would need to have your approval on the application. The application is which I can pull up last year's. I have it here. I have gotten the numbers from the tax and assessment, so that's one of the really the only spots that I needed information from another department. But what we'll need to do is draft basically an explanatory statement like this that we can send to the county board. and the county board will approve this. So if we could get our vote done at our next board meeting, then we can get this in front of the county board for their second meeting in February. And that puts us essentially right on track with what happened when they did the vote in 2020. So we'll need to have some discussion about, I think we want to keep it at the same rate. We're currently at a 7 cents per thousand. That's one of the big decisions that you all would ultimately be deciding on. But I think staying at the same rate is what we're inclined to do. If there's something differently that you guys want to do, we'll have to have a discussion about that. We'll need to talk about what we've done with the dollars over this last 5 years, and then what we plan to do with the dollars over the next 5 years. And as far as the actual application, this is the statement that will go to the county to get them to approve the measure. The actual application is this simple 1-page letter that goes to the clerk's office. There's not a lot of detail to put in here. It can't be more than 175 words. And then I have these numbers that have been given to us by the tax and assessments office. For the most part, we can copy the majority of this language, but if we want to look this over to spruce it up, I think they've basically used the same type of wording every year since they started this back in 2006, I believe was the first year. But yeah, I still do have a little bit more work to work on this on our side.
Last time they did increase.
They did this. It's very confusing to figure out what happened because it looked like they prepared a lot of the documents and then they changed their mind because what ended up being on this recorded copy was different than some of the stuff I saw. There's things with 5 cents, there's things with 9 cents, and there's things with 7 cents. What I understand is that it was at 5 cents and then they bumped it up 2 cents in 2021. But they had dropped it. I'm not sure what year they had dropped it in, but there was a concern at some time. And there's in your packet, there should be the minutes from the meeting at the commission level, and they discussed some of this. But I think there was a concern because there was an ending fund balance that was building, and they were concerned about what the public would feel about us basically growing our fund and then asking for additional dollars. So they had reduced it, and then they had to spend a bunch of money, and they were like, oh crap, now we've reduced it and we've got to try to get it back where we are. I think some of the important information that we have is we know we've got to do, basically almost a $500,000 repair on this roof. And we need to do almost another $500,000 repair on that roof. That's a big part of what we'll talk about. And then if we're talking about expanding down in the lower field for that type of stuff through our strategic plan, we'll need those dollars for that. What's that?
Trying to hit a number, or we're just what the public will accept?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know how they decided that all in the past. Ideally, that's what your master plan would tell you, right? It would say, this is our operating costs, and this is what we need to cover. I think that's a big part of what we would want to see in our strategic plan as we move forward.
So we need it for this year.
Yeah.
Have that.
Right.
I'm also curious if there's other levies that are going up for renewal this year. Do we know?
I do not know. I can ask that question if we're I can ask that question. I'm unsure. I think I'd heard that Warrenton's looking, or did they already do that? They already did their bond.
So the library bond?
No, they did a wastewater bond.
Oh, the wastewater bond.
I think that passed in November. I'll have to ask the clerk and see what she knows. I'm not sure, but that is a very good question. Like when people start seeing a whole bunch of bonds at the same time, they typically get turned off on all of them. I think the last time that this was voted on was the same time that the schools and the jail and everything was all on the ballot at the same time. Yeah, there's definitely some concern there about what people are going to be willing to vote for.
But you were saying we were gonna discuss this more in another meeting quite a bit.
We'll need to have an application ready to approve at our February meeting to get to the commission. I don't have the calendar, but it's 2 weeks prior to their meeting at the end of February.
When do you think you can send that out to this?
I can work on it the rest of the week. I had anticipated having it ready for tonight, but I ran out of time today. So I can work on it tomorrow and get it to you all. So yeah, their second meeting is on 26th. You look, is it the 4th? The 2nd and 4th, or the
Oh, you're in January.
it's in February?
The 22nd. And yeah, the 5th and the 19th, I think.
19th. So we would have to, our meeting will be on the 4th. We'll have to have the agenda item to the county clerk's office, the clerk of the board by the 5th in order to get onto the agenda for the 19th. They have to have their paperwork submitted 2 weeks prior to their meetings to get onto their agenda. We can give them a heads up also that it's coming, and they know that we're working on it, that it's anticipated to be at that meeting. They kind of have it in a placeholder in their rolling calendar for that. So we'll have to have something done by the 4th as far as official action from your board to get it in front of their board.
But you're gonna send it out sometime this, saying there's an opportunity for you to ask for committed responses.
Yeah.
Ready by. But when you bring it.
Yeah.
Give us the due date is when you want a response to you on that document.
Yeah. And
When, who else is committees? but
yeah.
Significant measures that we should be aware of that may or may not.
Yes.
And then I'm still wondering is like. Based on inflation, we say it's penny, or we're just saying you're gonna leave it as is, and there's no number we're matching to.
Not necessarily. And this is something that I think would be really good to come out of the strategic plan. Granted, we're not there yet, but it's that cost of service. And we don't know those numbers right now. How much does it cost for an event to be held here at the fairgrounds? We don't have those numbers. There's never been an analysis of that I've seen, but it'd be good information to have. What are our fixed costs? What's our bare minimum, to keep the lights on and all of that? That would be another good number to know, but I haven't seen anything like that yet and haven't analyzed it enough myself. There is some inflation that's built in with this without us changing our rate because those property values are adjusted for inflation. And so the numbers are going up, you can see every year, and that's because assessed values are going up. It's assuming a 3% annually increase. And really the big thing that I need from you all is like thoughts on what we did and what we want to do. There's really not much room here to put it. It's in this one that we're putting info. Like they said, built new storage. So this was when the annex was built. Refurbished signs, installed Wi-Fi. Right.
What was done, so I'm assuming that comes from you.
Yeah, well, and to tell you the truth, I've only been here 2 years myself. So I'll have some conversations with Matt and ask around a little bit on some other things that have been done and when they were done. But we can put together something that looks good. We've done some stuff.
Stress the community involvement.
Right. And this is the main piece that's been in the statement, continued free or low cost use of the facility for youth charitable organizations and public interest projects. How do we express that a little bit more? What does that mean to people? Yeah.
Say something. That could be something you could ask for people to kind of propose their any changes in that area, and then you could kind of see if you can align with that.
I mean, you guys have donated the space a lot over the years and to very commonly known entities that are nonprofits. And I feel like or for profits, but you've done it for youth, charitable, public interest. And so I think it would be okay to go for example or such as.
Yeah.
So that somebody can have an emotional association to it. Because people have an emotional association to their money. So you want to say, but this is worth it.
Yeah. I think it's something that we've tried to look at for the last 2 years is, this is our total rental and this is our total basically donated or in-kind services that we can add up, but we can also identify what groups those were and then go back to them and say, would you guys do a letter of support, in the pamphlet or whatever, and, basically issuing something that says the fairgrounds is great. They did this for us, that type of stuff. Yep.
When Napa School District was doing their bond, their bond committee was seeking, letters of support, endorsements. And so if you seek your letters of support or endorsements from public officials all the way to those nonprofit private entities, it instead of saying such as, you might be instead saying these are all of the folks that we have helped and they are supporting us. And so that might bring that emotional attachment in.
I think the thing that concerns me the most is people look at the fairgrounds as being a fair.
Mm-hmm.
And the more we can bring in the community to it, because as you know, the attendance has gone way down.
Mm-hmm.
And I worry about those people who don't come here anymore. If they're saying, no, I'm not going to vote for it. That's a pretty big block.
Mm-hmm.
That's my main concern. So we just have to reach out to the community and involve the community. And I think that, I would hope that they would do that because every time they ask for it, we see every month we have people coming in asking for free and everything else. We're doing it. So I think we need to see a return on this somehow or another. I may be wrong, but
Yeah. Oh, I'm with you.
Would encourage a small investment in signage and post it at local businesses that have supported the fair in the past and that you've supported in hand in the past. And so it makes it a very visible community effort. And signage is fairly cheap on the budget.
Yeah.
So.
So, this page is page previous to this, can we get that information?
Those are in your book there. Yeah.
Oh,
Yes, you can. I can send them to you digitally as well if you'd like them electronically.
It's more of an advertising committee thing, but we have been offered a free booth at Crab and Seafood this year for the first time. So this information we're trying to gather, that's a great place we can disseminate that in addition to other things.
Yep.
Just a thought.
might be a good place to say that the fairgrounds is more just a county fair. And reach out to the community that way too. I think that's the big thing we have to drive home. It's just not those 3 days or 4 days.
Yeah. And looks like in this I closed it. There was some language in that was talking about the food drive and those charity events that we're supporting. Definitely highlighting those in there. Yeah. I will send that to you. We're just about out of time, but we have one more work session item. The Loco Group is a RC club that runs the airport down below. They have sent us a check for their renewal. But if you look at the stuff's in this packet, if you look at the agenda item, you'll see what their current letter of agreement looks like. It's this one page. Essentially all it says is they'll pay us $500 a year, and we will keep the road graded, trimmed, add gravel when needed, and occasionally mow the departure with the brush hog. So that's the extent of our current agreement with them. And so obviously it needs to be updated to something that's more formal, that has terms with insurance and termination. There's basically nothing. I've met with them once. They understand that we need to do a more formal agreement. They obviously have concerns about costs. They don't really have money. They're just a small club of 20 people that flies their airplanes. So figuring out exactly what the board's angle is with wanting to go with them, like we can put in all of these terms for them. I think the most important thing is how much do we want to charge them? What are we going to promise them as far as what we provide them as far as mowing and all of that. Like right now it says $500 and we'll provide gravel, but we can't even get a load of gravel for $500. So, I, I'm not a totally, so I did meet with them last Friday and there were some leads that I had gotten from them to look for some other places because they're part of this, American model airplane club or society or whatever they want to call them, association. And if you go to their website, there's a list of all of the runways. And so I was like, well, that's a bigger clue than I had before I met with those guys. So I could at least get on the horn or with some of those. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. That would be a good way to go. I think a lot of their stuff is associated with like some private person that just has a piece of property that lets them fly, but I'm sure there's probably some other similar organization that's doing it. I don't know if a lease is appropriate or not, or if it's just some kind of annual rental agreement. But I did think it was important to not just have it automatically renewing and that they come in at least at renewal and have a meeting with you guys. So you all know what their club does, and we have an idea of the participation that they have. And they came to your guys' first meeting. And they would come to a meeting to discuss this lease, but I think us chatting about it is a good starting point.
What's our rate plus?
That is a good question. And when I met with them, some of the conversation that they had was, well, you need to maintain this road and you need to do this anyways. But what they're not appreciating is that road probably wouldn't be there if it wasn't for that airport. Like, it's the only reason why it's there. It's like, no, that stuff is all for you guys.
So we need to find out how much it's costing us.
Yeah.
And that's gotta be at least, recovered. Well, maybe not all at once, once, let them, gradually. But more importantly, we don't have any liability. Do they have liability insurance? Somebody falls and everything. How are we protected
That was I got a better understanding of that issue when I met with them last week. They, as them being members of that airplane club, the that association provides them with coverage for the facility. We are, yeah, yeah. We're listed on their insurance. We do, yeah, but it's not listed in the agreement that they would provide it. They are just providing it because they have it anyways. If they didn't get it for free and we hadn't required them to have it, they probably wouldn't have it. But that was where I got to with them off of the conversation about like non-club use. It's a public piece of public property. What if somebody else wanted to come and fly and we say, no, you can't fly unless you're part of the club. But then at the other side, the club is what provides the coverage. So I think there's a conversation that needs to be had there about liability for other folks that will potentially use it. The other thing that was very confusing that I'm still trying to get to the bottom of is like who authorized their use in the first place. If it was an agreement with the fair board at the time, or if it was an agreement with the county at the time. It's not clear, and I don't think anybody really has a clear understanding, but
Yes.
it, yeah. And
Talk to Anthony about recreational immunity and see if this activity falls underneath that umbrella or that ORS. Because it is a county property. I don't know where recreational immunity went, in regards to the most recent litigation out of Lincoln. Or Lincoln City or Newport, I can't remember. So ask Anthony if he might be able to assuage some fears.
Yeah.
Concerns.
And, I've started some conversation with him about, this lease. I haven't talked about that particular item. Is there anything of particular concern that you guys are interested in having added to this agreement? And if you guys could take some time, if you wanted to look through this and provide any comments or not, like this was literally just me using some chat GPT, like, hey, I need a lease with an airplane club. What are some things I need to consider? And it popped out kind of a draft lease that I kind of tweaked a little, working with it to get something that I could use as a discussion starter. This isn't by no means anything that's been negotiated. It's more all just here, just for us to have a discussion and be talking about moving forward.
Date exceptions.
Date?
They can't use it the week of the fair.
Yeah, it does say that they will not use it during the county fair.
So I think what you're reading there, you're reading the old agreement. They had that we will no longer be used for park services during the fair. So what it's not clear. I'm not sure exactly what the story was, but it sounds like maybe part of the original agreement for them to use the facility was that they were going to be doing the parking service at the fair. But there's nothing in writing to show what the original agreement was.
Yeah, I think can you also maybe email this to us so that we have it electronically?
Yeah.
And then we can take a look at it, and then do we have a date that we need to get this signed by them or finished?
Not particularly. I mean, we have a check that they sent us for renewal for 2025. I don't think that it would be lower than what we're currently charging them.
Yeah, are we holding on to that item until we?
I haven't cashed it yet. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like if we can maybe get back to you, if we can all get back to you within like the next week or so and figure out what we want. So it shouldn't be like that difficult.
It shouldn't. And I've gotten two other similar leases that the county has. They have one with, I think it's Aldridge Point for the boat launch, and they have one with the Lower Columbia Soccer for the soccer fields out on Ridge Road, where there's a lot of commonality between the leases that the county has with them. But really, I mean, the main question is it a lease or is it just a use agreement? What's that? Yes, I think it's a lease. Yeah. I haven't read it in details yet, but yeah, I'm pretty sure that theirs is a dirt cheap, like it's a buck that they pay and they have to provide some reports on usage and stuff like that.
6.1 say to have to take care of their own assets.
Yeah.
And take care of maintenance because the county is not funding that.
Yeah. This was something that was identified early on when I started that, hey, this agreement's not very good. It wasn't really a top priority, but it's a convenient time because it is up for renewal. You have a ton of other things to be working on, but we can try to move through it quickly. And like I told them after we met, like, all negotiations have kind of a little bit of a, like, you're going back and forth piece to it, but ultimately we want them to be here. We want the facility to be used. We want to have a partnership. Let's get this done and agreed to so that we can go back to supporting each other and promoting each other and seeing the thing get used.
So that was the input session. It is 6:07. We're starting a little bit later, but call to order. Our regular meeting with roll call. We've got everyone here except for Matt Bellingham, who has an excused reason to not be here. We will then start with the agenda approval. If anyone would like to approve the agenda.
Well, we have the work. It's the work, just the main agenda.
so we have a approval. Do we have a second? Second. Okay, all in favor? All opposed? Okay, we now have the appointment of the chair and vice chair.
So this would be amongst your guys' selves. You need to nominate and vote on who would be the chair and vice chair.
Mallory being chair. She's the only one that's been here.
I'd also like to nominate myself as chair. Obviously, I've not been on a board, but I have some experience in facilitating meetings.
Anybody have a second to any of these nominations? I don't know if you need a second.
One, and then we have the vice chair too that we need to think about. So
Maybe you guys go through your vote on your chair and then do your
Co-chairs?
vice chair. You have chair and vice chair. You guys all just want to go one by one and say, I vote for this person for chair and this person for vice chair, or the vote for this person for chair? To say it's not a secret. It's not a secret vote. So,
yeah.
You want to start, Elise? Okay.
Oh, very good.
I vote for Mallory for chair.
I vote for your chair.
So Mallory didn't even vote for herself. Okay.
Okay, so then we would need, do you need a second then for?
I mean, you can vote for a vice chair.
Vice chair?
Do you want to, I don't know, do you need to nominate someone?
Vote or not?
Okay, so we have a nomination and then we can go ahead and go through votes. I vote for myself. Perfect.
Yep.
I vote.
All right. Well, we've got a chair and vice chair. Mallory's the chair and Mary Jo's the vice chair. Moving on in the meeting.
Public comment at this time. Anyone wishing to address the Fair Board concerning items of interest on or off the agenda may do so. The person addressing the Fair Board will, when recognized, give their name, address for the record. All remarks will be addressed to the whole board and limited to 3 minutes per person. Fair Board members reserve the right to delay any action if required until such time when they are fully informed on the matter and is scheduled on the agenda. Any public comment for today? Huh? Oh,
My computer's gonna die.
yeah.
You got new board, new members, some people might know me, some might not. I've been the people mover, been kind of oversaw it, overseen it for the last since 2002. I'd be happy to do it again if you want me. You know, and so if you have any questions, comments, be happy to answer any questions. We use people mover. Last couple of years we've been using it for the March parade. Did out. We use it, of course, for the fair, and sometimes it gets used for the crab fest, but there's some improvements that need to be done, and I've discussed that with Kyle. That's about it on that. And then any questions?
Give me a lot of context. People mover, like people that are have trouble walking.
So have you been when you come to the fair? Have you seen the thing that moves the people from the parking lot up to here?
Towed by a tractor.
Oh, yeah, okay. Got
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
I got it.
there you go.
I've never used it. I have seen a tractor towing people. Thank you.
I really just for fun in high
And
school.
then one of the clubs helped out, we towed it through the Washington Parade last year, 4th of July parade. And kind of just gives the fairgrounds residents the event like that, not related to the fair. And then I don't know if I'm out of line or not, but I guess you were working on the nomenclature for the bond. Does the fairgrounds have what the positive financial impact is of like the fair? The before fairgrounds being here and like when people come from out of town and stay at hotels, and eat in restaurants for like the Grab Fest and for events and stuff like that. Is that public knowledge that people know that they see what other things it does besides the fairgrounds just being here?
I have not seen a number. That's been a question I've asked many times myself and, there's some groups that have come up with particular numbers themselves. Like I know the chamber has a number that they use specifically for their event, but as far as us having something specifically, we don't have a great number for that.
I didn't know if that was something that could be, generated.
I think it's a
The
very
public
important
to see
piece
that
of,
they're-
a piece of the story. There's, I've had some conversations with some other fair managers, like the Deschutes fair manager. He's got some number that they use, but they have this platform that basically tracks like cell phone data usage, and they're able to come up with some numbers based off of like cell phones coming in and off of your property. They said it's tricky though for fairgrounds because you do have a mesh between, stuff where there's a lot of business coming from out of town, but then you also have a lot of in-town business as well. So it's a tricky number to come up with, but different fairgrounds have different numbers that they've come up with that they use. I think it's something that's an important thing to try to figure out for us. Because it is more than just, the fair and
Yeah.
it's, all the hotel rooms, like at the rodeo, all the hotel rooms that got filled up with the rodeo was here.
Yeah.
And, all the restaurants that everybody paid at when they came into town for a weekend to come to events out here. There's a lot more to the.
And the only reason I bring that up is because people go, well, I don't go off to the fairgrounds, but if they do support local business, it has a positive impact on what happens downtown Warrenton, Seaside for hotels and restaurants.
Definitely.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks for your service too, by the way. Thank you. Thank you for being a people mover.
All right. Do we have anything else? Any other?
Oh, yes. You said first name and then
Address.
address. Okay. Brooke Biasella, and then my address is 916 North Franklin Street, Seaside, 97138. And I'm the new 4-H coordinator for Clatsop County. So I'm happy to meet you guys all. Sandra, she just retired. If you guys have ever talked to her, on the 31st, she was very, very hard, but she's really wonderful. So I just wanted you guys to say hi, and I'm Brooke, and I know I'll probably be chatting with some of you at some point. So I just want to say hi. So
Awesome. Thank you very much. Awesome. Anyone else? All right, we will move on to the consent calendar for approval of meeting minutes. You can either do one at a time or both.
So, yeah, these are just the minutes from the last two meetings. We didn't have the November ones ready because it was such a short turnaround between the November meeting and the December meeting.
So if anyone would like to make a motion to approve the meeting minutes,
I make a motion to approve the meeting minutes.
you want to state maybe both the dates?
What's that?
Do you want to state maybe the dates of November 24th, 20th and December 3rd?
I move that we
It's
approve,
just the consent calendar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, just the full thing? Okay,
that we approve the consent calendar.
perfect. I like it. All right, you got a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. And board member reports. Bruce, do you want to start?
Other than what I've shared, we have an opportunity to have a free booth at Crab and Seafood, which is prior to the levy. We can have a space for a table, or we can have a manned booth, but if they give us a booth, it must be manned. So that's something for another committee or Kyle to, because you have to apply for
Yeah,
it. The committee can't, the fair board manager, that needs to apply for that. But I'm just throwing that out there, and the information we can hand out is another thing to work on as well, but it just seems like a good opportunity. So,
So, yeah, I think it could be something that's great. We, at the very least, we can pitch the fair in our concert, depending on what we're allowed to do for our tax measure. I don't know if we'd be allowed to do anything besides maybe have a
What we
sign
do.
that says that it's going to be on the ballot. I don't even know. That'd be a question to ask Anthony, what would be appropriate for us to have at that meeting? I think,
backdrops of what the fair offers.
yeah,
Anyway,
yeah, just like maybe saying it without saying it, not saying like,
Yeah.
vote for this, but saying, look at all the things we've done.
Yeah, you could easily throw a banner together.
I think the big thing would be coming up with a commitment for the time to man it, if we're gonna man it.
that's another,
So
issue.
what that schedule might look like to.
2 days,
somebody.
so 2 days.
It is 2.5 days. Well, it's really, it's like,
Friday evenings, all day Saturday, half day Sunday, till about 3 on Sunday.
yeah, I mean, they would love to have us there because it's our facility, so they would, then we can help them if something
Yeah.
comes down. I think it could be great for us. We just need to figure out what that staffing would look like and what would, what would be on that.
That's all I
I
got.
mean, would you expect for staff to be there?
Well, I think also, what is the staff gonna do? And the question would be, do we need a booth, or is there somewhere that we just put up
A display?
advertising and
They're both
displays?
available, yeah.
I don't know what, if we're gonna be in a booth, what are we gonna do?
Stand there
We're
and talk.
gonna jump over and like, I want crab and I wanna know about the fair,
Yeah.
probably. So, but I mean, I'm assuming we could put a,
I mean, you could hand out maybe even like a discount code for the concert tickets and try to get people to buy concert tickets.
Hand out some shirts or something.
I just think it's an excellent opportunity to meet the people that come in, particularly with vendors for our venue
Mhm.
coming up the next couple of months after that.
When we have. Tickets.
I mean, there's hundreds of people that are there,
Yeah,
and there's also a lot of the business people from the areas that come there, and they forget about us.
Yeah.
We can't reach everybody, so this would be a great opportunity to do that.
Is that you that said PowerPoint or slideshow? Just playing behind us. I did not know the events that happened at the fairgrounds. All of them till recently. I couldn't believe it. So
perfect. And when does this decision need to be made? When does the decision need to be made if you're gonna commit to a booth?
probably sooner the better, out of respect for them offering us that booth, because I think they're already sold out, but David said he'd make room for a booth. So I didn't ask him. I can ask him and report back, or.
And we don't have a signed contract with them yet for the Crab Fest either. We could throw it in there.
Oh, there you go.
It's already been offered. so-
Yeah. Which leads to a whole nother conversation to have, and it goes back to that cost of service. The contract is basically, they pay us X amount for
Right.
the facility, and it doesn't say what that's covered, so.
This opens the door. Why not at ScanFest? Why can't we have them give us a booth as well?
Yeah. It's the same thing. They'd love to have somebody here anyway, so.
So maybe we could send out a survey to the board to say, here's the dates, would you be able to commit to 4 hours or whatever the math comes out to? I'll figure out who wants to organize.
And we may have some public volunteers. Thank you. I don't know.
I will try to put something together that will show what that looks like and send it to you. Provide some feedback.
Okay. Sounds.
I'm excited about the advertising and sponsorship and being reactive. It's a good start.
Yeah.
I think this craft festival is a good start also. to help you advertise.
Sorry, John, with that kicking on, you might need to pull that mic closer so that everyone can kind of hear you.
I just think that it would be good public relations for us. With the,
I'm so sorry. You're really gonna have to talk into that mic. Yeah.
Okay.
Can't be shy.
lose my voice. I just think it would be a great public relations win for us. We start doing this kind of events here at the fairgrounds, let people know. And I think that, we can use it our benefit, particularly with our advertising and our sponsorships. Who knows, we may be able to get some people to
Sell some sponsorships while we're sitting there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know we met with some of these committees, but maybe after we get through with these board members, we can kind of update on some follow-up times for these committees to check in and touch again. I don't recall if we set another meeting on that advertising and marketing committee. We did talk about, basically just what we've done in the past on, advertising and sponsorship. We didn't really talk much about moving forward. I think a good follow-up meeting, we can start connecting on.
Yeah. Did we get anything back from like being able to use that poster or anything like that for the concert? Have we heard anything back?
I talked with Eric yesterday.
Okay.
I think yesterday was his first day back in the office from it. He said he'd seen it and he would get back some comments on it.
Okay.
And he knows we need to do some more work on it.
Yeah, just kind of an overall general kind of idea. Okay. I can't think of anything right now, so go ahead. Do you have anything for board reports?
I was just curious if we ever figured out if the washer and dryer can't go there.
So Jim came out, Jim Pierce, that's him.
Yep.
Paul.
No, Paul Larson? Oh, I was thinking JP Plumbing, sorry.
Oh,
That's JP Plumbing, yeah.
Yeah,
and
so
it's not-
Jim.
Yeah,
Jim.
it's Jim.
I was gonna say, yeah,
Of
Jim.
course, yeah, different last name. He got
Came out,
two different names going.
I showed him 3 different projects that I need to work on. Basically, we were talking about like a pressure reducing valve for that parking lot and an isolation for the clubhouse. And the parking lot, because right now, if we shut that water off, the clubhouse is out of water. So it'd be great to be able to shut off the parking lot and not the clubhouse. And then there's an 1.25 inch line in the arena that we'd like to have tapped in so we can hook a fire hose up. And then showed him the washer as well. And so he came out and looked at all those. He texted me over the weekend and asked me for my email address, but I haven't seen a proposal back from him. But he has come out and he's looked at it. He's working on it. Expect to get something from him soon.
Okay.
From the board member reports, so we've had a number of meetings on concert and entertainment. And Kyle is working on getting us a repository so we can start communicating instead of via email to updates. You might want to use, you're gonna work on getting us your, really put it up.
Just need to unplug the heaters.
Yeah, it's hard, yeah.
Kyle's gonna work to see what he can do to give us the ability, instead of continuing to send documents back and forth, we can actually have a repository we can update collectively. Repositories to constantly having different versions of documents.
Yeah. Yeah, and we've got lots of data that Kristen and I work off of, but trying to get it to where it's in a format that you guys can see it without having to be, explaining what's going on in our minds so much, but there's definitely a lot of like history that, being so new, like what did we have here for entertainment last year and how much did we pay for all of these? And so getting all that information that we can be starting to work forward on this.
Yeah, and as I offered before, Kyle, if you need any help with any of that, feel free to let me know and see what I can do to accept some of those documents for you so that they're more.
Yeah.
I have nothing to report.
All right.
It's been a holiday too.
Sorry, I did not respond to your email.
it's tough. There's, 5 new people that all basically need to be caught up from, 3 years of experience at once. So I am acceptant of that. That's where we're at with it, but it's knowing that, we're gonna get this fair planned and everybody's gonna have a great idea what happened and we're gonna be hitting the ground running and really good. We're excited to be working on the fair in the office as well, but it seems like over this, especially this last 2 weeks with a holiday in the middle of the week, 2 weeks in a row, it's been really challenging to make traction on stuff. And we've had other items coming up. Our fire system's had an issue and we've had some vacations and some sick days. But it's just hard to have momentum when you haven't broken up holiday like that. But I do think that we are in a really good position compared to the first 2 years I had here, where the first year we were behind the day it started, and last year, we were waiting and waiting and waiting to get a music act booked, and so we were really behind on that. So, and we were building a lot of stuff from scratch last year as far as vendor applications and registration forms and sponsorship plans, and we have a lot of good bones to be working off of this year. So we're gonna be able to hit the ground running here over the next couple of weeks. Now that this meeting is gonna be out of the way, it takes a lot just to put these meetings on too. Like to put this packet together is, a good day and a half of just been making sure I have all the information for you all. Not to cut into y'all's reports. Yeah.
It's yours.
I mean, that would be, basically what I said there was the big stuff what we have going on. The roof project, we got our initial cost estimate back and it was significantly higher than what we were thinking when we budgeted. But some positives have come. They think that we can get a good energy incentive because the repair involves insulating on top of the roof and then adding a membrane on top of that insulation. So it's potential for a decent energy trust grant on that. We also had thought that the deadline was in June, because that's what they had originally told us was that June 30 was the deadline, but we have till February, so that probably was a little bit of time. The fire system is, you can hear it beeping back there. There's an issue with one of the control boards. The thing's original from 1995 when this place was built. It's entirely possible that it wasn't new when it was put in also, who knows, but, so we're to the point where it seems like that piece is gonna have to be replaced. It could be 10 grand to replace it by the time we're done, so we're working on getting quotes for that. We've had 3 different electrical outfits out here to see what they need to collect so that we can get that replaced. Arena sponsorships are coming in. We do have some print offs here for you guys. We have basically a letter that would be for, pitching somebody for a new sponsorship and then a sign up form if people are interested in new arena signs. I know Bruce sounded like you had
like
the
20
lead on quite a few people
Yeah.
already. And so I'll leave some of these out with you guys. And if you guys know anybody that's interested in getting a sign, or if you want to pitch anybody when you see them, here's some documents that you can.
Electronically.
I can, yeah, we can, and I believe they're on this at least is on our website. This letter's not gonna be on the website, but this form will be.
If you give me some now, I can just copy them.
Yeah.
And then, okay,
And we can make you a ton of copies as well.
okay.
Trying to think, I feel like I had another note on here. Here, my main priority is just really trying to get this roof project rolling and getting this tax measure going and then starting to build the fair. There's some big RFPs that we've got to get out for like the stage and the sound company and the stage out front. Those are kind of the 3 big key things that are really going to depend on availability from those vendors because the demand is very high that week. So the earlier we can book those, the better and get them locked in. And the other stuff we can build around, we can make everything that's happening, but we've got to get those 3 big pieces.
Using the same people for the stage.
We'll get a bid from them, but we'll try to at least get bids from 3 different companies. The last 2 years, the stage that we got was basically the only one that was available, and it was from the same company. When I was at the convention, there were 2 other companies that sounded like they were interested in bidding on it, and I told them when our fair dates were, and they were still interested, so I need to reach out to them. I have a list of 3 companies to reach out to, for that stage. Yep.
All right, anything else?
Do you guys have the ability to schedule follow-up meetings now?
I would love to do that via email so that I can see my calendar because I've got 8.
And I'll be out of the country
That
until about the 22nd and 23rd after Friday.
Okay, maybe what, instead of trying to get like each particular meeting, maybe if you guys could just send your availabilities in general. Cause what's tricky for me is when like I got 3 of you that are available and then 3 of you that are, like, it's all this
Yeah.
overlapping. And then I gotta call the other person to
Can
make sure.
we do where we do like the poll where you just throw out a few dates and we can,
That worked for me.
that works best for me. And then because if there is something on a day where I can move it and I have 3 options, I don't know if that worked best for all of you.
Again, it's just, yeah, when I got 7 meetings and then the meeting, yeah, we can give it a try and see how it goes.
Okay. Okay,
We have, I think, 1 meeting at least scheduled for the concert.
And aren't they usually Tuesdays? No, they're different days of the week.
Yeah.
yeah, it just
Talking
kind of,
about committees.
yeah. Yeah, this one is always Tuesdays.
This
but-
one's always.
Okay, anything else?
That's all.
Okay, so we'll move on to the business agenda. Which we have Friends of the Fair request.
Hello, my name is Sue Hansel and I am the show manager for the Friends of the Fair. Kyle sent you a letter that I made up. We're asking for reduced fees for the facility rental for 2025 for shows. And those dates are in February, March, and April. Currently, we're paying $1,200 per weekend for our 3 shows. And I also gave you copies of our last 5 years of our profit and loss statements. And we have donated in the last 4 years, $8,500 for the stall. Reimbursement for the stall. Repairs. I don't know what you want to call them. Repairs.
Replacements, yeah.
Replacements, yeah. So we're, if anybody has any questions.
Which do we think that those are gonna be done before, or where are we sitting with?
I have not gotten an update from him since before Christmas, but the order's placed and they said 6 to 8 weeks, and the date that the order was placed was before 6 to 8 weeks before the first show. It's not, we don't know if,
They'll be
we'll
installed.
necessarily need them for that first show. I mean, we're gonna be shooting for trying to at least get the units installed in Barn C before that show. But as far as, did I say that right? Barn C, the one that's
Yeah.
empty.
Yeah,
We won't probably tackle Barn A until we know we have time, because those all still need torn out in order to put the new
Yeah.
ones in.
Okay.
But we'll definitely be trying to get Barn C with those panels set up as soon as they come in.
Okay.
I will follow up with Pat tomorrow and see if he's got an updated lead time.
perfect. I don't just after talking about conflict of interest and whatnot, I participate in those shows. So I don't know that I should make a vote or be a part of that. So I'll leave it to the rest of the board to do that.
What was it last year?
$1,200 for each weekend.
Are you asking for a specific lower rate, or did I miss that? Is something lower?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, yes.
All right, yeah,
But
get
So typically the rental fees are going to be $2,000 per day. Or 10% of ticket sales, whichever is greater. Obviously, there's no really ticket sales happening. So it'd be that $2,000 per day. The last few years we've done, it's been $1,200. So we've reduced it by $800 for each show. And it's a series of 3.
and you're asking for less than 12 for this coming year. Well, I'm just
I
asking.
think she's asking for to pay the same thing.
Okay.
Something more than 1,200.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just wasn't clear to me. I'm not,
Because
saying
our
I'm smart.
main mission is to give back to help with the worst facilities and
Which we have a $2,000 donation from them right here
Yeah.
as well.
that's
She just
included,
brought in.
that's included in the 8,500
Okay.
that we put in the last 4 years.
So you're happy with the discounted rate of 12? I'm just asking
Yes.
now your question.
Yes.
Okay.
So, my question is a good
We
question.
realize that it does take staff time to come in. We have to come in at least once a day to drive the arena, and usually we don't have any issues.
Yeah. Unless everybody's on vacation.
Yeah. But the
That was
last
gonna be
few
my
years.
question, how much of a burden is having it?
So yeah, these are things that are all part of that conversation on, the cost of service that we don't really have. So, we've got to drag the arena ahead of time. We've got to drag the arena a couple times during the show. There's stalls usage, which they typically clean the stalls themselves. It's
How long?
a few weeks later, but the stalls get cleaned by a 4-H club or an FFA club. The high school
We've been
team.
having the OSET.
But there is some time with staff in there, checking the bathrooms and driving the arena. And coming in on the weekend. It's minimal, but there's something. What is that cost? Like, we don't have a set dollar amount per hour for it. It's something that I think we really should be looking at in our operation strategy. And it goes to the whole thing, like this $2,000 or 10%. That's not really, it doesn't really fit all of the events. So it's really tricky for us when we're renting out that facility specifically. Because every event is so unique. This is a public event that doesn't have ticketed. The costs are really low.
How many man hours do you think is involved with allowing that, just out of curiosity?
3 to 5, maybe, something like that.
So since we're still
weekend?
not knowing what the
Yeah.
costs are and we still haven't done a strategic plan, it might make sense for us to stay status quo and
Yeah.
and commit to the 1,200
Yeah.
per day.
Does Friends of the Fair have, can they, or do you have the ability to drag the arena yourself? Is that something? I'm just asking.
Yeah, it'd be-
there.
Yeah, so. Basically as a renter, they could operate any equipment that they wanted as long as it's their own, but they can't use our equipment. But if they were to bring their own equipment in, then they could.
Is that an option?
But what if we had someone that is like either myself or someone that works for the county?
Yeah, I think there's stuff we can do. We had this conversation with our risk. Whatever, our insurance agent, risk agent, and she said, we can authorize people, we would want to keep it limited. And we would want it to be very formal in what the approval is for that, like they've received a check off from training and that approval can be revoked. If necessary, so there's an option out there. We haven't actually followed through with getting somebody authorized for that, but
That might be something
it's
we
something that is an
wanna
option.
get done.
Yeah, less than the man hours here.
Yeah.
The beach volleyball, we do online certification to drive the little Jeep.
They're buggy.
Yeah, the buggies around to empty garbage and stuff. So I would think there's something already available online. But that saves man hours for the fair.
Yeah.
And Mary Jo, I agree, just keep it status quo.
So I'm gonna
Sure.
try this.
Yeah, let's hear it.
I move to approve the Friends of the Fair request, the rental fee of 1,200 per day for their event.
Weekends.
Okay,
Yeah,
The weekend.
1,200 for the weekend.
Yeah.
For 2,000 per day.
per event.
Okay, I'll change that. Glad I got that clarified. Okay. I move to approve the Friends of the Fair request for 1,200 for the weekend, as a reduced rate for this year.
I second that motion.
all in favor? All opposed? Motion carries.
This might, just thinking, spitballing here, thinking you have a group called Friends Up here. Like, it's a perfect partnership for support with our levy, like
Yeah.
that could be the perfect base piece for a campaign for pushing out the stuff of, for our board, because you're not associated, you're not a public employee, but you are an association that is, you know, got a connection with us. So it could be an actual partnership. What's that?
Good job waiting till after we approve.
Yeah.
And maybe if you guys could write us a letter that we could share at the Crab and Seafood in our booth. It all helps.
Great.
There you go.
Well, even if we could add like pictures or videos of, you know, their lead line classes and stuff like that with the kids, that, you know, that goes a long way too, so. Okay, we will go on to. Let's see, the OWIT resource dinner request. Oregon Women in Timber.
Back here up there.
Yes,
Come
we can
on.
hear you.
Yeah.
I was like,
Better than you can hear me.
I don't need a mic.
I don't know if I
I'll
worded that
use it.
right. I was like, I don't know.
No, you didn't. That's all right. I'll fix it. Hello, my name is Lindsay Davis. My colleagues here, Jenny Johnson, Whitney Johnson, they're not related, but if they were, I'd say Jenny's the nicer sister. We're with,
Public record.
that's
It's
what we
fine.
do. It's Oregon. So we're with Oregon Women in Timber. We're also with Clatsop Working Watershed Cooperative. Both of those organizations advocate and provide education for forestry, farming, and fishing here in Clatsop County. OWIT is a statewide organization. We have a Clatsop chapter here that's big and strong, and then we have Clatsop Working Watershed Cooperative. It's just specific to Clatsop County. Again, providing education, outreach, and even youth opportunities for fishing, farming, and forestry, of course. So every year we put on this cool fundraiser. And I kind of want to take you guys back to how this all started, because the fair board and the fairgrounds were instrumental in getting this up off the ground. And about 3 years ago, a young lady from Warrenton High School fisheries class sent me an email. I work for Hampton Lumber, and she was asking if Hampton Lumber could help support them by helping them purchase a new generator for their fish hatchery out at the high school. Easy enough. We could have wrote a check, but this girl kind of had a little grit in her email and thought, wonder if we could help her put on a fundraiser, if she could raise the funds and have some ownership in that piece. So we said, we'll help you out. We'll help you put on a fundraiser. This idea was born probably in December sometime, and decided, well, let's throw together maybe a surf and turf dinner in January and just invite some folks and see if they'd buy a plate of food and raise some funds for these kids. So we actually came here to the fairgrounds in front of the fair board and asked for use of the facility at no charge. We had no budget. We were just trying to help a class of children out get a generator for their school. Generously donated the use of the facility, and we made these flyers, put them all out around town, and within a matter of days, we were sold out with over 500 people showing up. All of the food was donated. You know, the steaks, all the crab, everything was donated. The facility was donated. All the drinks were donated. The entire thing was of no charge, and every cent that was made that night went back to the kids. It was $126,000 they made that night.
Wow.
Nice.
What was really cool about it was when we came here and asked for use of the facility, we told them it was these kids that wanted to purchase a new generator. And it was the fair board and the fair manager and the county through the county surplus had a generator. So those kids didn't even have to spend a cent of that money on a new generator. The county through the fairgrounds donated the generator. The diesel mechanics out at Hampton fixed it up, made sure it was working and running. Another individual donated their time and time to paint it and painted it all up and customized it for the Warrenton Fish Hatchery. So all 126,000 that went to their class to help with infrastructure and buying new tanks so that more kids could participate in the hatchery program and so on. After that year, because all the funds benefited Warrenton High School and they met and exceeded their goal and got a generator, that same young lady said, wouldn't it be cool if we could do this every year and it could help all the kids? So we went into round 2 the next year. And again, it was like in December. We thought, well, we're going to pull this off again. And sure enough, she hit the ground running with it, came in front of the fair board again, said, can we please use the facility once again?
This time we want it to benefit all 5 of the high schools in Clatsop County that have any programming to do with farming, fishing, and forestry. So that ends up being 5 high schools, 7 program areas. Whatever funds we raise, we will split it with all 7 programs. So they're all equal. It doesn't matter if they have 2 kids in their program or 20 kids in their program. We want to keep it even. Each program get what they need. So we've done that now for the last 2 years. We sell out again every year. All of the food donated, all of the drink donated, everything's donated. And these kids, we've raised over 150,000 those last 2 years. So each of those programs have been getting checks for $20,000 for the last 2 years. We want to continue doing it. And so that's why we are here today, again, to say we want to do this again. We want to use the facility if at all possible for discount or hopefully free of charge, because we really want every cent to go back to these schools. And so Jenny can tell you a little bit about what we can do in exchange.
Well, I was just listening to you guys speak earlier, and so we have 50 tables. We utilize every single round table that the fairgrounds has here.
Which I counted, you only have 46 back there, so you need to find 4 more tables. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sure we're using the ones that aren't going to.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Let's not do that.
Make sure.
Well, I was just thinking that, you know, we'd be happy to put your tax levy, your tax measure information on each table. We're already sold out for this event. It's coming up at the end of the month here. And we shut down table sales a few days ago. So we could definitely add some good PR for you guys and what the fair, we've been providing this facility for all these, it's the future workforce in these fields. FFA program, fisheries program, the CTE, welding, wood shop. All these kids, all these programs are growing in these local schools again, which is great. There was a while where they were all cut out of the schools because of budgeting. And so to be bolstering the program every year by our own community members that come here, either to bid on auction items, buy table seats, entities like this that have donated the property to have the event, local seafood companies that are handing us over shrimp, steaks, seafood products. Every one of those entities deserve a big thank you, and they're a big part of how we get to keep our costs really, really low and distribute as much as we can to each school. So that was one idea when you were talking about ways to get information about your tax levy or bond out there. We'd be happy to do that. We have 50 tables and each table has 10 people at it. So
Awesome.
Would you write a recommendation that we can use for our booth?
Yeah.
Crab and seafood,
certainly,
just
yeah.
whatever you want to put. Thank you, Clatsop County Fairgrounds, over the past blah years.
Yeah,
Because that's something I didn't know. I had no idea.
yeah. We actually have a booth too at the seafood festival. So we could have some,
We have a joint.
we could have, yeah. Could
Yep.
have information there as well.
But I think the coolest thing, I know you guys talk about like man hours and setup and cleanup and whatnot, is that we leverage about 100 to 150 kids that come to this night and they help set up the day before. And then it's a really cool sight to see it take down. Because all those kids, just like little soldiers, this whole thing turns right back into a blank slate. And
Okay, we need photos.
you do. You need to
Serious.
do a time lapse
And
thing,
some
watching it. It's amazing.
Statement and some photos that we can display.
Yes, yep.
We have lots of those from the last few years.
Yeah, I've seen it every year, and you know, around the perimeter, they have like displays from these kids programs. They're showing some of the stuff they're working on throughout the year too. So that's
It's
cool to
really,
see.
really neat. So again, I don't know if this falls into like, I am a part of it, but I volunteer, so I don't know if I.
Do you have a financial benefit from
No.
it?
Okay.
You don't have a conflict there.
Perfect. All right, if someone.
None
would
of
like-
us have a financial. benefit.
Yeah, exactly.
This is
I mean,
not make me.
My
money.
kids might one day when they use the program.
Right.
but-
Yeah. No, it's a really, if you have never been, I urge you to come. Like, so we're sold out of ticket sales this year, but we still have volunteer opportunities available and we make sure we feed you if you come in and volunteer your time. we can't promise that we won't work you to death because it is a lot of work to set it up. And then it is a lot of work to take down, but we've got all those kids that are helping take down. So
Awesome.
Is it just here?
it is just here
Oh, when is it?
Okay.
It's not on the
on January 16th next week.
Yeah.
It's on there.
It's not.
Natural Resources Banquet?
Yep.
Oh, okay. I was looking
On
at
the 18th?
16.
Thursday.
Oh,
Thursday.
I was looking on here and it was called.
So we use
Yeah,
the
that's
facility
WIC.
Wednesday for setup and Thursday for the actual event. We used to, in the past, we started out on a Thursday, we moved it to a weekend, then we're back on a Thursday, a couple different reasons. Number one, there's another event that a lot of the donors like to go to that particular week, third weekend in January, so we don't want to lose them. But also it leaves the facility still available for you folks to rent out on the weekends. We don't want to take up any valuable real estate when it comes to dates there,
And people are still showing
especially
up.
if we're asking for it for
Yeah.
nothing. So.
People are still showing up.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Well, and I thought that might have been a deterrent, and this year we sold out a
Yeah.
week and a half sooner than we did last year.
Yeah.
So with no advertising this year, so it's, if you guys could add on to your building, I could sell more plates.
Awesome. All right. Does anyone want to make a motion?
I moved to give it for free on that day for sure. If our county needs anything more in the school system, it's that.
I second it with a question.
Sure,
Could you guys volunteer some at the fair and some of for,
we do.
for?
Yep.
So I second.
Awesome.
Thank
All in favor? All
Thank
opposed?
you, guys.
Motion passes. Thank you
Thank
guys.
you.
I'm excited.
If you need another volunteer, I'll volunteer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Got it.
So-
Thank you.
Put your name down.
Okay, we have got fair theme. Yes.
Yeah, so we need to set a fair theme. I just did a Google search of good fair themes for a fair in Clatsop County with the logging and fishing community. And I had this list and I'm not committed to any of those. It's really just brain for you guys to be
One thing,
getting some inspiration.
Are you doing colors too, like you normally do too? Like you put colors?
Sure, we can talk
I
about
mean,
colors.
We have our colors, but I know you guys
Yeah.
usually have a color theme too.
I looked at these, I was just kind of wondering, none of them said anything about farming or anything.
Yeah, it was just like an AI, like give me
Okay.
some inspiration. So you don't have to use any of these if you have other
Okay.
thoughts.
I'd like to see something that encompasses, the whole community, not, and something that'll focus on our, all the good stuff we do here.
Like I really would like to
I don't know what that would be.
volunteer. for
There's
that.
Sorry.
Oh, for that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, Joel, there's harvesting happiness, which is to do with fish, trees, farm. I'm just saying,
Yeah, that's
a
true.
lot of harvesting goes on here.
And do we want do we want to make a vote on something tonight, or are we wanting to just like?
When do we have to know?
I think sooner than later would be ideal. I mean, it really helps with us, like, as we announce the concert.
Like maybe within a week or less than a
Well,
week?
you can't vote on, you won't be able to vote until we have another public meeting. So,
Last year's was the fair to the forest.
forest to the farm.
Forest to the farm.
Yeah.
It's dyslexic.
I mean, it doesn't have to be like. I mean, the hope last year with Forest to the Farm was that we were gonna be able to like decorate the fair and have like a whole theme everywhere, but there was just no capacity for it. I mean, I'd like that be something that we're thinking about as we're coming up with a theme. It's like, how can we really incorporate this into like our mission booth and in our entranceway and our, and even our vendors telling them what the theme is and having them incorporate that into their booths.
About forest, farm and sea.
We did Forest to the Farm last year, but
Oh,
yeah.
add sea, okay.
I mean, I have no preference anyway. I mean, this is one of the main things that the fair board gets to pick is the themes.
And can I just say that sometimes the 4-H clubs, they'll take the theme and decorate the theme also. They still use the green and, our colors, but not all of them do, but some of them do, will pitch it if they're able to.
We have an award for best.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
So just so you guys know that, because I know anything about the fair, how a fair works, but some of the 4-H clubs will decorate towards your thing too.
Of the ones here, I really like Fargstein Happiness. But a lot of good ones here.
How'd you guys decide last year?
Yeah.
Same thing. We just had a list of them that we kind of went with.
It took 2 meetings, but.
Yeah, yeah.
So this kind of does lead to another thing that I was gonna bring up in the managers section, and I know we've got a lot of meetings already, but if we wanted to have just kind of like a separate workshop meeting where all we talk about is the fairs. We could schedule something or even do a virtual meeting, but, we just kind of hash out, there's a lot of, you know, kind of higher level things that really affect all of the committees. Like, what areas do we want for parking? What areas do we want to, you know? All of those types of questions that really the full board needs input on.
There's another one that is stars, stripes and summer nights, which you start thinking about like your colors too. And that would be kind of a fun thing to do. We haven't really brought those colors back again.
Like the USA type of.
Mhm.
And when they do this, is it 4-H?
Was it a few years ago?
2020.
You know, like
Okay, I
last
wasn't-
year's,
yeah.
was that a 4-H kid that drew this?
No, so we did a
No,
poster
they
contest.
We had
Yeah,
one
yeah.
for our t-shirts.
Oh, okay, because I was gonna say it'd be really cool to have,
Yeah, I think.
and then they can incorporate the water.
Yeah, and that's, that's what that, so that
That
was
was the
based off
forest to
that.
farm one, that one.
Yeah, the forest to farm. and stuff.
Yeah,
I'm kind of extrapolating from here. What about coast and country? It's short.
What's in here? Supposed to live in country style. That's, I guess, not the same.
Because we're celebrating coast and country. The 4-H, that's country, and we live on the coast.
yeah, we got 4-H FFA and
Yeah.
We still have a lot to do on our agenda,
Yeah.
it looks like, and it's 7. Are we saying that we're gonna try to align on a fair for?
Does everyone have one that they like, that they want to throw out there, or are we all like,
I mean, I
Okay.
have one.
okay,
I like coast and country.
okay,
It's not on
John?
my list, but it's.
I like that one. Best on it. It's, and I don't like anything on this.
okay, so I,
And you said, I didn't sit down and come up with each of these. I did an internet thing. I cheated.
so we've got, one of them that I just looked at was the stars, stripes and summer nights.
yeah, I do too.
No, it's one I just did, yeah.
I like it, I like it.
That's, I can't say, I mean, that's good.
Okay, does everyone like that one, or do we?
Yeah, you've convinced John.
So stars, stripes and summer nights, that'll be a fun decorating one, it'll be easy, it'll be,
We can take our parade decorations.
yep,
and move them
exactly,
right.
yep, perfect.
And we know the colors, all right?
Yeah, yeah.
Red, white, and blue.
Black,
Perfect,
yellow, and
yep.
orange.
Start-
Perfect.
Was that on?
Nice,
No,
nice. Okay.
No.
it's
this
just what I
way,
Googled.
Nobody can say. We chat.
Star stripes.
Exactly,
Yep.
was not off of Chat GPT, so there you go.
That darn VI.
All right, perfect, that's done.
Nice.
ELS scope of work.
Yes, so I wanted to apprise you guys on this, you know, I think it's in the authority of me moving on even with this, what it is at 3,500, and it will likely be less, but this is really affecting the wetland project. We had a meeting with the wetland consultant. They knew a lot about our property. She said she had some files, but she hadn't pulled them out yet, but, based off the conversation and looking at some aerial maps and stuff, she said, what you guys really need to do first is do some maintenance on that property before we approach a wetland delineation, because if we come in there right now, you're almost certainly gonna have a bigger problem than you might have if you do some maintenance first. And it's apparent by looking at the historical photos that it looks like there was a lot of ditching that was in place, and then it looks like there was like an event in a location, and then the ditch was gone, and then there was an event in another location, and then the ditch was gone. So their proposal was to start off for them to do some records research, look at historical stuff, come out, do a field visit and mark out the maintenance that we need to do on these historical ditches. And basically have like a defensible maintenance plan that if someone were to come and say, why are you doing this in the wetlands? Say, no, these ditches are here. This is the research we did. This is why these ditches need to be there. And then get that work done and then move forward to the next steps with the wetland delineation. So this $3,500 that they're proposing is a not to exceed. It said there could potentially be some reduced costs if they can tag on to some other work that they do in the area because they're working in Clatsop County a lot. And they're coming from Longview. I think it said Longview. They're coming from out of town. So I think it's definitely a very prudent step for us to take before we just jump in and start digging ourselves first off, and also, hiring them to do something that's gonna end up being not in our best interest. So if you guys want me to move forward with that, tackle that.
Sounds good.
Yep. Does the grounds have any means of cleaning those ditches? Or is that something that has to be hired out every single year?
So we don't have any kind of digger machine. I mean, we have a skid steer and tractors, but our agreement with Cowan is for him to do additional maintenance. And so especially if we were to flag some stuff out for him, we could likely get him to come in. It would be on his schedule would be one of the tricky things. We could likely work with Public Works as well, either rent their equipment or have their staff do it, or we could rent a piece of equipment ourselves. We do have about $5,000 in our budget for equipment rentals annually. We rent an excavator for a week for $1,200 and probably get everything done. As long as we have a body that can be running the thing for 8 hours a day for the 5 days of the year.
Okay. Anything else on that? Just move forward with it. OSU, the MOU.
Yeah, so this is for you guys to make your vote on. This has been in the works since the day I started. This was one of the first things when I got here, said, get this sorted out. There was issue with basically multiple beneficiaries. That's the best way for me to say it. The 4-H association was connected to it, and the clubhouse and the chicken coop, and like all of these extra third parties we were trying to make an agreement with OSU and these other groups. So we got it to a spot that between Sandra and the fair board, we were ready to move forward, and then we sent it to OSU for the OSU to review. And their contract person had 2 or 3 go arounds back and forth on revisions. And you all saw it just before they sent back their last comments. And basically their last comments addressed all of the same things that you guys had brought up in the meeting last time, like when do they provide their insurance and things like that. So you've seen this in pretty much this format with maybe a couple of small tweaks. OSU has gone through and fully executed on their side. So at this point, it's looking for fair board approval, and then we'll send it to the county board to approve. Because they are the board for the 4-H extension, what do they call it? Board of Commissioners for Clatsop County, or in governing body of Clatsop County 4-H and Extension Service. So the county board has to sign for that. I need to get this memo to them tomorrow by the end of the day for it to go on their meeting at the end of this week. So the next steps would be you guys approve it tonight and sign, and then I get it to the county board on the 2 weeks from now for them.
This is the one that we already looked through and provided feedback on.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. I move to approve the MOU with Oregon State University for its extended services and master gardener program.
Yeah, I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion carries. I'm gonna take a step back really quick to go back to the ELS scope of work. Do we need a motion on that for you to move forward, or?
Go ahead. I mean, I think this is within my purchasing authority to do. I purchase stuff for $3,500 regularly, but I think it doesn't hurt you're here.
Okay. Does anyone want to make a motion?
Here. I move to approve the scope of work for ELS and direct staff to execute the contract for the work.
Okay, want a second?
Second.
Okay, and all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion carries. Jumping back down to opening act.
Yes.
I'm wondering if we can like align on what is our goal for the opening act? Like, what are some of the key elements we're looking for? Like something different than the singer, something in line?
I don't think you want something different. I think you want something in line who your opening act is.
Mhm.
I think it gets too convoluted if you have two different types of things going on. So I think it would be something that complements the actual act.
And can you, just for history, can you explain a little bit about how you picked opening act last year?
We went through a few, basically. We all kind of made a list. I think we had like a list of 3 that we all would come to the table, and then we looked at to see who was kind of overlapping. We all had, I feel like, similar tastes though, so it made it pretty easy in the fact that we all had the same.
And the Cassie Ashton that we got last year was a routed act that our promoter was also strongly suggesting. So I don't know what connection he had with their agency or not, but you know, something that has some name recognition and it could potentially be selling tickets. You know, when we booked Cassie, she was just coming out with a couple of songs that were, you know, basically just being released, and she was getting a lot of views on them. And then her album was coming out like a month after the fair. I think her debut album came out. So it seemed like it was a good fit when we played some of the songs that she had.
And I am not an expert. I'm deferring to my advisor, my 25-year-old daughter who goes to lots of concerts. She was talking about Spotify, monthly Spotify listeners, is whether or not that's an influence to try to get people coming to the fair that maybe won't attend if it was just Rodney Atkins and somebody that didn't recognize.
Yes, I saw Annie Bosco about a month ago. She has a record coming out with Joe Nichols. He may even be out now. Yeah, and I think I saw them both together on the same venue. So, and that would be, it's kind of the same venue you've got with, the same, you got with the headliner this year. A couple of country. She was really personal.
I'm gonna be honest, I only like Googled for them because I don't know a lot of these names.
Yeah.
But Thomas Mack was good. I did not like Carrie Cunningham. I think he was 290s. Alex Lampert and Ben Burgess were the other 2, and I only listened to a few of their songs. They weren't bad, but
Thomas Mack would bring a lot of energy, like a lot of energy.
and he has the same, like, I think he would marry well with
Yeah, I agree.
who's gonna be playing.
I think he would too, and no, I would love to have Thomas Mack be the one. However, do you think he would overshadow the main track?
No.
Okay.
There's too many people that.
Yeah. So what I had done with this list, I highlighted the ones that fair board members had some interest in. I know Carrie Cunningham is somebody that Bruce knows, and she's played at the Crop Fest a few times, I think. Thomas Mack was the original pitch from Romeo, saying he was routed, and while he's here for, I think she said 6 to 7, probably get it at the low end, maybe even 5. That was before the holiday. I'm not sure what the situation currently is. And then the others are just what some of you guys have responded back with in the emails individually on what you're interested in.
I did.
Besides that, there's really no preference on my side for any of them one way or the other. It's just giving you kind of a clue. That's why those were highlighted.
Are we supposed to give our 1, 2, and 3 now or no?
I think that would be good if we had a 1, 2, 3, and then we can go back to Romeo and say, we'd like you to go for this person, not to exceed this much. We'd like you to go to this person. If that doesn't work out, then move on to number 2. If that doesn't work out, then move on to number 3.
I still think it'd be interesting to know what their appeal is, instead of just like, you know, like how do we try to draw in more people to come to the concert that wouldn't come for Rodney Atkins, but would come for.
Yeah. That's tough, right?
Yeah, I don't know how we get that.
You know, we have our demographics that we had at the fair last year. I don't have that stuff in front of me. I can't remember exactly where it was, but there's definitely drawing a lot to like the middle-aged female audience is where most of, at least the people that are actually buying the tickets are the middle-aged female, maybe like 35 to 45 age bracket. I believe was the highest that we had. So, I mean, there's one thing, are we trying to target that or are we trying to target something complementary to
Well,
that?
I don't know that, I think, again, my advisor last year's opening act, I'd be curious to see if people come for anyone actually comes for the opening act, or if there's a way we can look to draw people in for the opening act. It's not just a filler, it's actually somebody that is potentially draw in maybe a younger crowd. Young.
Thomas Mack would draw in a younger crowd. I
Yeah,
think.
yeah, I mean, he's all over doing different videos and stuff. He's done a lot of different things with what's his name?
The other TikTok country.
I can see his face.
Here, I can pull him up.
But I mean, he is funny. Like he would be so much fun.
He was my number two, but
Well, I want who you guys want.
Can you play a song just to
Because
hear?
I don't know a lot of these artists.
I don't know who it is.
He's like a TikTok guy that does like little videos, funny videos. But
Oh,
then he has a couple of songs that he's released also. I'm trying to find something. Maybe if I just go to YouTube.
Places a pleasant
Would,
surprise.
would a female
Yeah.
opening act be?
It's pretty much what they've had every year, though.
Would a female opening act
I don't
that's
think
what I was
appeal
looking
to
at.
another?
I
My
mean,
number one was Annie Bosco. She was really good too.
who's she?
Well, I trust you guys. I'd go with Annie Bosco or Thomas Mack because I don't know these people like you guys do.
I just think the people that like Rodney Atkins also like this guy, but like MJ was saying, like, do we want to go for a different demographic? And that's why I was thinking Annie Bosco.
You're
Just
already
be,
selling them on Rodney Atkins.
Yeah.
So I think that's where just having a different.
Yeah,
Do we need to decide this tonight?
this is a
It'd be-
really
it'd be
important piece
nice.
to move forward with
Yeah.
sponsorship.
Oh, gotcha.
And it's gonna take weeks to negotiate contracts also.
So, and I don't, like, are you wanting us to make a motion as a board, or do you want each of us to give you like
I
our,
would like you as a board to do a 1v3.
okay,
We already provided our three, or some people did, you asked before, individually.
yeah, so we need to collaborate then, so I think that Thomas Mack would bring in high energy and a really good environment. Now, I can't really list two other ones because I didn't really look at other ones, so.
Maybe go with what Ben was saying,
I was saying, tell me, Ben.
Sorry.
How do you know my brother?
No.
My number one was Annie Bosco. My number two was Thomas Mack, and my number three was Matt Schuster. And I'd be fine
So
with
I
any of
think,
that.
I think maybe fair if each person puts out one and no more than one and.
Okay. I thought we were looking for a 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, we need a 1, 2, 3
Yes.
from all of us.
Okay.
Right. Oh, individually.
No, as a
Yeah.
Okay.
cohesive team.
I see. I
so-
misunderstood that.
No, you're good.
So I threw out what I put out on the top of my list before was Grace Tyler. He's open for Jack Turner, Lee Rice, those types of things. And looking for someone that'll, I'm hoping that we're gonna find an opportunity to bring in, people that are coming there for the opening act and maybe staying for Rodney or don't, I don't care, there's things to take a deal with.
Okay, and Ellie's, who were you saying?
Thomas, not. I'm just trusting Annie Bosco and then Alex Lantern.
Okay, And then-
Mentioned 3 times.
Yeah, so I think, and he was suggested to start with from, was it Eric?
From Page.
From Page, okay. So is everyone okay if we have Thomas Mack as number one? And then we can put, you had mentioned the
Annie Bosco.
Annie Bosco as number two.
Or the Grace, what was the Grace?
Grace Tyler is what I mentioned this.
I just think a female should be considered.
Yeah, so he has a gal and then,
Well, Annie Bosco's a girl.
yeah,
Sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
I said Annie Bosco's a girl. I mean.
yeah.
John and I don't know the subject matter, so.
Okay, so-
Kind of go with you guys.
Okay, so do we want to make a motion? Do we want to do Thomas Mack as our number one, our number two to be Annie Bosco, and our number three to be Grace Taylor? Tyler, sorry.
Well, we could put a number 4 in there if there's somebody that you're still on the rope on.
I think we'll be here another 15 minutes, so,
One question I have, because I don't know, I'm not familiar with Thomas Mack. Is his energy gonna overshadow
No.
the headliner?
That's what I was worried about too.
no, that's what he mentioned already. No, I don't think it will.
Well, and he's been pitched by the talent buyer, so.
Yeah, they're not gonna pitch
Yeah,
someone
but
to,
the talent buyers
that.
gets
We're
paid
bringing the
more money.
younger,
Right.
probably the younger men.
He's not getting any more money for anything that we book because he's already, within the percentage. So we would have to spend over 50K for them to make any more money. And I don't think we're gonna be spending 10 grand on an opening act no matter what. So all of this is, it's like already covered with their services.
okay, so would someone like to make a motion?
It's acceptable. I'll make a motion to make, oh, of course, my screen turned on me. Thomas Mack is number 1, Annie Bosco, number 2, Grace Tyler, number 3.
All right, any seconds?
A second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
So
Motion
a
carries.
follow-up question, what's the max that you want to
Paid.
pay?
What was,
Are the prices here?
but are they all about? what are they
They're all in this 5 to 7,500 range.
I'd say we don't want to spend more than 7,500 then.
And preferably
Yeah,
five.
it looks like Annie's 5 and 5. I think they said Thomas was 5, but I have 6 written down here for some reason. Grace is 5 and 5, so it looks like they're all asking for 5 anyways.
I just like to make sure we break even,
Yeah,
that's all.
yeah, me too. Me too, and already looking, we're on track to spend way less on talent. Even with this 5K, we paid 55K for Joe Nichols and then we paid 7,500 for Cassie Ashton, so we're already close to 20 grand under.
Nice. We paid 40 for Rodney, right?
Right, yeah.
Okay, so if they're all at 5, I would say we don't want to pay any more than 5.
Yeah, because the
Yep.
second and third choices should come in at 5.
Well, just for this table, what were the two price ranges? There's no header on this. What
It
is,
was low and high, sorry.
Okay.
That's how she sent the thing too, but I could have added it, I suppose.
okay, so are you saying if Thomas Mack is at over 5, it's a no?
If he's more than 5, I think we could reevaluate and
Okay.
go from there. Yeah. Do you need that as a motion?
No, I
or-
think that makes sense.
Okay.
I got that.
Okay. So, and kind of to your point, John, too, about trying to make, money on it, I think eventually we want to get to be able to have a free concert. So I think that's where we got to hit the ground running with sponsorships to make that a possibility too. So, next item is ticket prices.
This is for the fair.
Yes.
Ticket prices would be for the concert, I believe, correct?
We're at $60 with fair admission last year.
I don't think we were that high. I think we were 45,
I
right?
had printed some stuff off. and I
25.
left it on the.
Oh, yeah, we were,
Yeah.
that was the year before. That was 50 seconds. Yeah.
Last year's was what?
25, and then that was early bird, and then 29.
And I think
general
Seems
admission.
really low.
I think we'd be okay.
That included.
That was for the general.
Yeah, correct.
You're right.
I think 60.
Do you remember what the trade side pin was by chance?
This was before.
It was like 45.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, it
what my
seems
head
like
went.
25 is low. That's what the Liberty typically charges for 25 and
Right.
29, and they're not bringing in this
Yeah.
kind of people.
Yeah, but we also, our goal is to have it be a free thing, right? All these other places are doing free concerts and, And so we're really hoping to bring in those sponsorships to make it a thing where we draw more people into it, right? Into the actual fair and hopefully get them here before the concert and moving around and doing things.
Is the concert price in addition to fair entry?
No, yeah, you have a ticket and you get in.
My only, concern is we had kind of the same acts last year. Joe Nichols, a little bit bigger name. And we didn't draw the 6,000 or 7,000 people into the fair. We try to do an act like this and try to do it for free. We're gonna have to sell our soul for every person in town to be a sponsor. I think that we need to, look at it and as it is, 25 or $30 for an act like you have in here is cheap. We spent $125 in Joe Nichols and stood for 2 hours.
So here's a couple of things, and I'm not a ticket expert. I did ask Romeo, I asked Eric, some conversation about ticket. He did like, that ticket range around that $30 that we were talking about that we did last year. He didn't really have anything like, financial backing as far as production costs and all that, but just, good sense of a good ticket price for that. Looking at Rodney's ticket prices, they go anywhere from $35 to $85 for a ticket, depending on the venue. One of the things, though, to consider is we did jump up prices with Sawyer Brown, and then we had nobody come. So we went up to $45 for Sawyer Brown. What's that?
Not many people knew him either.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's hard.
I would,
And then it's also a very busy week in the music world. So if you are somebody that's into music that is going to travel to go to music, you're gonna go down to the Jamboree in Sweet Home and you're gonna go to that festival, or you're gonna go to Deschutes County and you're gonna go to that festival, or you're gonna go to the Gorge, because there's massive shows that are happening at each one of those grounds at the same time. So we're not necessarily targeting like the music fan. We're targeting the locals that want to come out to the Clatsop County concert and have a party.
So how many bodies do we get last year? Not.
It was
I care
about-
the price of tickets.
I want to say it was like 1,800.
Well, $30 is 1,600 people to get 50,000.
Well, there is different pricing though, that didn't take into account the reserved area,
Yeah.
the VIP. Well, the VIP is different, I think. Well, I mean, not that it isn't important.
so, I think that we should consider keeping the ticket prices what we had them last year and doing an early bird of $25 and then at the door or whatever
Maybe.
certain amount of time at $29.
Something else that, and I'm just sorry to cut you off now, something that I think is worth us considering, and I think I realized this a little during the rodeo as well. That while it's nice that we do the early bird and then drop the price down, I think having a little bit of a kick up like the week of the show would be in our benefit, because then it would encourage people to buy early. And then we would, like, if they know that they get paid the same price the day of the show, they're just gonna wait, and then we don't know. And we're not getting
I agree with
little tickets.
Yeah.
I don't know, I mean, I don't know if that's gonna pay off or if it's gonna be
Yeah,
the wrong decision.
yeah,
But if there's an early bird.
yeah, I definitely think doing an early bird is a good idea. The other thing is we, once we get another committee meeting in that sponsorship piece where we really need to look at how many tickets they're getting for their sponsorship is the other piece too, because how it's been going probably isn't the best
Getting 50
option.
tickets.
Yeah, it's kind of silly. So, but we don't really need to worry about that part, I guess, right now. We just need to look at the main ticket, and then if we are doing a reserve seating and what that looks like, because that is a really, really kind of pain in the butt area. We do need to have it, but we need to remember how many seats we maybe put in there last year. It is flipping cold out here. Cut that off.
They did, didn't they? It cooled down. I can hear
I
it.
am loud enough, everyone can hear me with it on, so
I
everyone
hear
else
it.
can talk louder.
If you look up here, here's some rough numbers. So if we sold 500 at the pre-sale at $25 a piece, it'd be $12.50. We sold another 500 general admission at $30 or $29, 14. We sold out our reserve section, so this is the front of house.
Did we have 400?
It's only what we had marked. Yeah.
I don't think we had that many.
It's not a big area.
I don't think we had that many though.
I don't think we sold that many either. Yeah. I don't remember what we did exactly. I was trying to gather all that information. I ran out of time before this meeting started.
Okay, so what do we need
We
to,
made 15K on alcohol. We got 58,000 in VIP. We didn't quite get to the 60, but you know, we came pretty close. I mean, even if I take this back to 50, what did I do there?
it's formulated in there?
And that was at 25 and 29. Gotcha. I can see.
So that takes us to income of 120K. Anticipated production expenses is in the 70K range. That's this lower section of this spreadsheet over here.
You're not taking into account if we have Thomas Mack, the alcohol sales will be higher.
That 15K was pretty dang good number. That's 30% of the total alcohol sales. But
Okay.
yeah, maybe that number will come up.
I
So based off of those, that's
don't think so.
like break even. It's, what are the odds of that?
So is the motion to keep it at 25?
I would think so, to do an early bird at 25 and then, an actual ticket price of 29 and then.
35 the day show or week of fair.
Perfect. And then do we need to also commit a, price for reserved seating?
Is that what we've always done?
The 50, it was more than that. We dropped it down to 50
Yeah,
and we still didn't sell it out last year.
yeah, I would say that one would be 45, but that's just me.
Well, the idea is to put bodies in there, 100 more bodies.
Yeah.
Even if it's $5 less.
Yep.
45.
I mean,
Yeah.
this is kind of a really low bar. This is only 2,000 people coming to the concert.
Well, and our expenses aren't that high this coming year.
This is what our expenses are about. I mean, the production costs might be a little lower. They might be 60, but they're still gonna be up there. But you know, if you bump this up and you get an extra 500 people to come, then we've made $12,000. So if we can get 2,500 people to come to it instead of the 1,800 people to
I
come.
like being in the black.
And you know, another thing about this too is we're making other money in other locations. We're making money on merchandise. We're making money on
Drawing people in.
Yeah,
on,
exactly.
vendors.
Yep.
And some of these, this is another thing to consider. This production cost is for 2 days of stage, sound and light. So if we only do 1 day, this would be a chunk lower. But we also were talking about a Latino night as well. And we have,
Oh, we worked on.
Do they
Some more
charge
time.
for tickets on Latino night?
what's that?
No, we did that one.
No, we charged for it. It was 20 bucks that we charged for that, but we only sold like 300 tickets. But I think, and I haven't been able to digest enough to project what that could look like.
What,
Instead of, we paid like 15K for the 2 bands that we had for
are,
Latino night last year. I think we could book decent bands for under 4K. and
are we
people
committed
would be
to a
happy.
Latino night again?
We haven't committed yet, but it's still something that is very easily to add on.
What about a tribute band night? They can sometimes work.
Yeah, and that's a discussion for you. I know Matt, and he's not here, of course, tonight, was very much during our concert meeting, was very vocal about thinking that Latino night was something that we shouldn't give up on after
Yeah.
1 year.
Okay, well then.
I know we've done rock shows in the past. And they've had mixed sales too. But there are a big chunk of people that they're not gonna come to a country concert no matter who it is, but they might
Yeah.
come to a Twisted Sisters tribute band in Martytown or something.
Okay,
This friend of
so,
Fort Stevens kind of does that. Tribute band stuff, so.
Yeah. So what I will do as I'm going through these RFPs for stage and stuff, I'll get the difference between 1 day and 2 day. And then at our next meeting, we can make decisions on Latino night. We don't have to necessarily make
Yeah.
that decision tonight.
but we do want to make a decision on ticket prices, so if
Yeah.
anyone wants to make that.
Yeah, I make a motion to keep the general mission and reserve ticket prices the same as it was in 2024.
With the bump up, do we want to do the bump up the week of?
Oh, yes, if you didn't do that, I thought you
So
said.
20
Did last year.
Oh, yeah, with early bird up until the week before,
And do you want reserve at 45 or do you want it at 50 like we had it?
but it's same as last year.
Okay, 50,
That's what the last year was.
But we didn't sell out.
yeah.
$5 makes a difference, you think, I don't know.
It's a brain thing where it goes from that 5-0 to that 4-5. It's kind of a, it's a mind
People are
game.
weird. People will drive out here to not pay a processing
Yeah,
fee.
it's a
And
mind
it
game.
costs them $10 to drive out.
Yeah.
So what's the motion?
Well, I. Yes, I put out a motion. Somebody else wants to put a different motion. That's
Oh,
fine.
gotcha.
I make a motion to keep the early bird the same, raise the day of,
Mika,
The week of?
the week of, sorry, and drop $5 off the reserved seating and the IP remains the same.
Okay, we have a second.
I second, as long as the same, are we doing the same drop price on or the increase in price for early bird? You have early bird on,
no early bird on the reserve. Since it's such a limited area, we didn't do an early bird on that. There's only the 400 seats.
Okay, so we have a first and a second, all in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. And we are now to finance report. So if we just need an approval on the minute or on the financials for November.
Yeah.
Is that what we're looking for?
Here for you all to look at, and you all will have a much more better appreciation of all of this by the time we get through the budget here in the next couple of weeks. And I can explain this budget a lot more in detail for you all. But if you have any particular questions now, I will be digging heavily into this over the next 6 weeks to build our budget for the next year. So, you know, this one that's blue color coded, that's harder to read. This is something that, the finance director has built for us to kind of have everything in one spot. But I think it's kind of a little bit harder to follow than just reading these other sheets that are right out of our financial software. And you can just follow them down. We have account numbers, those are each of our different funds. And then what we budgeted and then what we got, what we received.
The motion is
To approve November. Finance report.
If you have any questions, I'm here happy to answer them.
And it's
Or if
just
any of you
report.
want to meet one-on-one to go over the budget in more detail, I'd be happy to do that as well. I do feel like I should give you guys a better financial presentation, so you have a better idea of the situation. But
is that something that would be more appropriate for the full board? Or do you think people have specific questions that would need to take your time?
yeah, either way, I mean, it's just time. Yeah, either way. But yeah, definitely the budget committee or budget process will go through with the entire board.
I didn't see it. We don't have to approve that. We're just.
Yeah, we're waiting
Just
for a motion.
basically keeping you guys apprised of the financial situation of the report.
We don't need to approve it.
I don't think so. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing that would change.
It's like this is what money is spent.
All right.
Okay, so you don't need anything on that then?
I do not. No.
Okay, so anyone have anything for the good of the order, at least you want to start? Okay. And then,
No.
okay, I don't have anything. No?
Good.
Okay. Everyone else, all good? Okay, perfect.
I'll turn the heat back on.
Yeah,
You can say adjourn.
adjourn at 7:36 at night.
This is about right.
Is it?
But we started at 4, so it feels extra.
Yeah.
Sign.
Kyle, did we ever get a number on the bridge sponsorship? For a single one, or you want people with multiple? I know we talked about it. but I don't